President Trump described that phone call as a very friendly conversation, but the president said that it all comes down to one word: tariffs, which he said are a powerful tool to getting what you want. He was saying they're on pause right now because the Mexicans said that they're now going to send 10,000 troops to their northern border and work harder on the flow of drugs across into the United States.
President Trump is expected to speak with Canada's President Justin Trudeau here very shortly. The Sundance Film Festival has wrapped up, but Utah's leaders are not ready to let it go. Nearly 100 Utah leaders, including Governor Spencer Cox, signed a letter saying they're ready to partner with and support Sundance for the next 40 years and beyond. This comes as Sundance contemplates moving to another city. In 2026, it'll still be in Park City and Salt Lake City and will run from January 22nd to February 1st. But for the following year, Sundance organizers are still deciding whether to stay in Utah or move to Cincinnati, Ohio, or Boulder, Colorado. Your money at this moment: the Dow is up 6 points, rebounding quite a bit since this morning. S&P is down 24 points and the NASDAQ down 150. Coming up, it's spring-like weather in February, but for how long? KSL weather is next. KSL News Time 101.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Are you in search of a fulfilling career where you can work on a team that provides you room to grow, learn, and thrive every day? Focus Engineering and Surveying is looking for individuals to join their team who take pride in the customer service they provide and have a passion for their clients to be successful. No experience in engineering, CAD design, or surveying? No problem. Focus will train those who fit their team culture for rewarding careers in surveying and CAD design. If you can align with the core ideology and the Focus team culture, if you're internally driven, team-oriented, client-focused, and love personal development and growth, Focus Engineering and Surveying is the place for you. Enjoy a positive work environment and paid internship opportunities, plus fantastic benefits like great health care with 80% employer-paid premium and HSA matched up to $200 per month, 401k, vacation, even annual performance bonuses. Start your journey towards your new and fulfilling career. Apply now at FocusUtah.com. That's FocusUtah.com.
If you've ever set New Year's resolutions before, you know how difficult it is to follow through because you have to wait to see the results. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and in honor of your New Year, New You resolutions, Any Hour Services is having our New Year, New System sale. From now until the end of February, Any Hour Services will give you $2,025 off a new furnace and air conditioner. And you don't have to wait to save the money. You get $2,025 off at the time of purchase. The only thing you have to do to qualify for our New Year, New System sale is call Any Hour Services and schedule a free estimate. When you call, there's no obligation to buy. Just schedule a time to meet that works best for you. Let me say that again. From now until the end of February, when you have Any Hour Services install a new furnace and air conditioner, we'll give you $2,025 off. Call Any Hour Services right now and schedule a free estimate. 801-443-7400. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Camping season is right around the corner, and Motorsportsland is throwing a huge RV party in the KZ RV Mega Tent. Come and check out hundreds of the newest RVs, RV accessories, and enjoy exciting activities including kids' movie nights, RV seminars, on-site radio events, yard games, live bands, food trucks, and did we mention over $30,000 in giveaways? Event sponsors include KZ RV, Owned by Cummins, Suburban RV Appliances, Lion Energy, Lippert, Utah Big Game Outfitters, Equalizer, and many more. Free admission, free seminars, and free activities. No need to wait for a show. Buy your RV at Motorsportsland this week in confidence with our best price guarantee for 2 weeks after your purchase. Check out motorsportsland.com for event schedule and guarantee details. Adventure awaits at Motorsportsland's Mega Tent RV event.
Let Motorsportsland help you get away.
4001 South State.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's limited time balance transfer bonus. Here's Ricky Meese.
We do have a stalled vehicle in traffic. It's at the off-ramp from southbound I-215's West Belt at California Avenue. Valley Freeway traffic still looking good with no other problems. Teens can get up to $200 with a Teen Learn and Earn account, plus continue earning rewards as they master the essentials of finance. More at cypresscu.com/teen. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Temperatures will hit an unseasonably warm high of 65 today and 66 tomorrow, but then we'll start to get cooler again. Wednesday, there's a chance of showers and a high of 56 degrees. Right now, it's windy, cloudy, and 63 degrees. I'm Heather Peterson from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. A new presidency, new state leaders, and a new legislative session. Utah's top political experts discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
Welcome to Inside Sources. I'm your co-host, Rusty Cannon, president of the Utah Credit Union Association, here with Taylor Morgan with Morgan May Public Affairs. And Taylor, as you know, China gets a tariff, Canada gets a tariff, Mexico gets a... Oh, hold on a second.
Wait,
Mexico.
Is this the Oprah approach
yes.
to tariffs, Rusty? Is
That's
that
right.
What we're getting
I believe
at?
so.
Okay.
As for 30 days from a few hours ago, nothing on Mexico right now. President Donald Trump's tariffs continue to spark ire across the country among worried consumers and among foreign countries who are watching to see what happens next.
Rusty, can you explain what a tariff is? Can we start there?
I was
feel
kind of
like
hoping you'd do that.
all of our listeners have probably know what a tariff is, but for those who don't, I've actually had to spend some time explaining what the word tariff means to my 14-year-old, to my 9-year-old son over the last couple weeks, because there has been so much conversation around
let's hear that elevator pitch.
Tariffs. Well, in very simple terms, a tariff is a tax or a fee placed on a good that is imported from a foreign country.
Yep.
Is that simple enough?
Yeah. Shows up at the border. I believe it's CBP, Customs and Border Patrol, assesses the tariff right there at the border for it to enter the country, and they collect it and then turn it around and send it in. So it comes in. So now we'll debate, and we'll do this
It's
over
similar to
several
my
segments.
kids' Halloween candy, right? When they get
right.
home, there's a dad tariff imposed. As I help them sort their candy, I kind of get to take and choose what I want as a tariff on their candy that is being imported into my home.
That's a very good analogy.
Okay.
So what was, I don't want to use the word entertaining. I know this is serious business, but it was interesting to watch over the weekend a lot of, weeping and wailing and all of that as this was coming forward this morning. This was a soundbite I thought we should play for listeners as to how President Trump operates as we play chicken.
Mr. President, is there anything China, Canada, and Mexico can do tonight to forestall your implementation of tariffs tomorrow?
No, nothing. Not right now, no.
Not a negotiating tool?
No, it's not, no.
No.
So, yeah, there you have it.
It's a no.
Yeah, it's like basically my foot is on the gas pedal. This car is driving over the cliff. Go ahead and try to stop me.
Rusty, I have spent so much time thinking about this over the last week, and especially this weekend. Donald Trump announced these tariffs on Friday.
Yes.
I think that was intentional and strategic, and we can perhaps get to that later in the conversation. But I was so wrong, Rusty. Can I admit that on air and just take a moment to eat my words,
Taylor
perhaps? Because when we were talking about the possibility of these tariffs in the past, before the November election, my thought was, well, listen, campaign promises don't always become policy, and that's okay.
Yeah, I believe you said that on the air.
I did say that on the air. Thank you, Rusty. And I said it a few times, and my thinking was Donald Trump is really trying to focus on blue-collar workers, specifically in Rust Belt, important states for the Electoral College, right? Think Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. And Rusty, he won across the board. He won every swing state.
Yes.
And a lot of it was his focus on blue-collar American workers and voters. These tariffs were very much in their interest because by imposing these tariffs on products made overseas, the idea here is that we're strengthening American manufacturing and production, right?
Yeah, that's the idea.
I didn't think, Rusty, I didn't think he would actually implement these tariffs.
Yeah, but that's where his leverage comes from.
Yeah.
Right? Is that he is, use the word crazy or intent or whatever. He is intent enough on driving this over the cliff that it's going to happen, whether they come to the table or not. So, as we mentioned with Mexico and news, if you hadn't heard already this morning, that there's been a 30-day pause put on the tariff to Mexico. The intent was to have a 25% tariff on goods entering the U.S. from Mexico, but he and Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum, if I'm saying that right, agreed she's going to send immediately 10,000 soldiers to the border to work on trafficking of fentanyl and other drugs and border crossings and all of that, and making, I assume, some other stipulations. She also mentioned wanting the U.S. to do some things about weapons going in that direction, but there's obviously some back and forth that we'll maybe hear details later.
We heard in that last soundbite, Rusty, we heard President Trump say there was nothing any of these countries could do to forestall the tariffs. Yeah. Yet, here we have a deal. The Mexican president reached out. The tariff on Mexican goods has been put on hold for a month here. Yep. And some interesting efforts being made by Mexico when it comes to border security. So you have to hand it to Donald Trump for forcing negotiations here, right? Yeah. Is this the art of the deal that we are seeing happen in the White House?
It was interesting to see because I thought, like you, I didn't know it would get to the brink like this. Because there was a lot of pushback over the weekend. Let's actually listen to a soundbite where President Trump addressed what some of the concerns were for people.
We may have short-term a little pain, and people understand that. But long-term, the United States has been ripped off by virtually every country in the world. We have deficits with almost every country. Not every country, but almost.
Okay, so aside from, let's pause for a minute and move away from the leverage and strategy side of it to the logistics. I do not agree with him when it comes to deficits. For as an example, if I am a country, and the U.S., and I buy $100 worth of goods from Vietnam, in a vacuum now I have a $100 trade deficit with Vietnam. I personally have a massive trade deficit with Costco.
I was going to say, yeah.
It's like I buy a ton of stuff, and they don't give me a thing. And so in that example, in a vacuum, the United States has a $100 deficit, and Vietnam now has a $100 surplus, trade surplus. They're still a poor country. We're still a rich country. Nothing's changed. Yeah. So the idea that this deficit is a bad thing, I don't necessarily agree with that. It means we import a lot of goods, which can be bad or can be good.
Let's be clear. The United States is the third largest or most populous nation in the world, but when it comes to spending, Rusty, we are far and away the richest country. America is the largest consumer market in the world by a long shot.
Yeah.
And so having a trade deficit with these countries, to me, is not necessarily the conversation. That, to me, is a sidebar. Yeah. What we are really getting at here with President Trump is his desire to strengthen American manufacturing.
Yeah, and that's fair. U.S. manufacturing, strengthening the dollar, whatever he's shooting to do, and you made a good case. We knew this was coming. This was a very big part of his campaign platform. It should be no surprise this is happening. We just chuckle now about like you thought. I never thought he'd pull the car this close to the cliff.
This is Donald Trump's power. This is why he is such an interesting and such a polarizing political figure. Yeah. Is like you said, call him crazy, call him whatever adjective you want, Rusty. He's just crazy enough to actually follow through on what he says.
Yeah, and so it'll be interesting to see how this plays out because it's been interesting to see a lot of the conversations now about, as an example of a product, you pick type of product where, okay, the first several parts imported from China, you have a tariff there. It's assembled a little bit in the southern United States. A lot of these parts now go over the border as they're made, right? As a I don't know some sort of product that would be somewhat assembled in the U.S. goes over the border to Mexico, gets further assembled, comes back in the U.S. Maybe some things move up to Canada to get some parts. It's a big mess that can create a big pyramiding of tariffs that I think people are getting very nervous about. So tough to see. So we're gonna continue to talk about this. This is a very detailed subject, a lot going on, and so we're going to spend another few segments about this. So when we come back on Inside Sources, we're going to stick with this topic and have a discussion on the messaging and timing, as you mentioned, behind President Trump's tariff orders. Stay with us.
The newest part of your morning, and still so familiar.
When you wake up and listen to a radio show, it's like you're a part of a family. You're listening in on people you know, and it's magnificent that Andy Farnsworth is sitting in the chair because he's someone we know.
Utah's Morning News. Andy Farnsworth joins Amanda Dixon to bring you important news in the car. 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
The Western Hunting and Conservation Expo is coming to Salt Lake City February 13th to 16th. It's the biggest hunting show in the West, featuring Utah's top 200 hunting permits for just $5 each application. Visit with hundreds of exhibitors and see Rodney Atkins perform live. Get discount admission at Sportsman's Warehouse, Les Schwab Tires, Bass Pro Cabela's, and Utah's Toyota dealers. And best of all, you can apply to hunt Utah's biggest bucks and bulls for just $5 each. The Hunting Expo is brought to you by the Utah Office of Tourism. Get tickets and details at huntexpo.com.
Are you and your credit card ready for some peace and quiet? Experience the relief of a low rate with the Mountain America credit card. With a 3% cash bonus on balance transfers, it's more relaxing than ever. Open a Mountain America credit card today for your limited time bonus. Details at macu.com/transfer. Loans and approved credit. Membership required based on eligibility. Offer can change or be withdrawn at any time. Terms, conditions, and restrictions apply.
If you have unfiled taxes or are in debt to the IRS, this is important news. Did you know the IRS has programs specifically designed to help people struggling with tax debt? Powerful tax assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution firm, A-rated by the Better Business Bureau. Their award-winning team of tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. One call to Optima can start the process, helping to end your worries about wage garnishment, asset seizure, and other IRS actions. Make sure you're getting the best options to solve your tax problems. Call the experts at Optima today for a free confidential consultation.
Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
If you're struggling with your mortgage, there's a free government program that offers expert one-on-one advice about your mortgage options. Call 1-888-995-HOPE or visit makinghomeaffordable.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Treasury, HUD, and the Ad Council.
If you're trying to decide which gutter protection to put on your home, don't just ask how they'll handle leaves. Ask how they'll handle ice. Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors, and that's right, ice. See, plenty of gutter guards are good at keeping out leaves, but most are made with flimsy materials that can bend, buckle, and break under the weight of too much ice. Kind of a big problem in an icy state like Utah, right? At RGS Exteriors, our exclusive gutter protection systems are built Utah tough. They're made with premium strength materials that hold up to 1,200 pounds of ice per square foot. Simply put, they're not going to budge. Our gutter guards are also certified to handle hurricane-level winds and rain. Mother Nature can't damage them. Guaranteed. Utah Tough Products. That's the RGS way. For a free estimate, call 801-280-3110 or visit rgsexteriors.com. That's rgsexteriors.com or 801-280-3110.
Being prepared for an emergency is vital to you, your families, and your community's well-being. H2O, commonly known as water, is an essential part of your health and survival. You can only last 3 to 4 days without clean drinking water. If you're thirsty, you're already dehydrated.
Must have water.
Remember to store a minimum of 1 gallon of water per person per day for a minimum of 2 weeks.
That would be precisely 14 gallons per person.
Municipal tap water, right from your kitchen faucet, is clean and ready to go for long-term storage. Store water in clean number 2 food-grade containers. Do not use milk jugs and certainly do not use containers that held chemicals.
Yuck.
Remember, emergency preparedness is your responsibility. For more information on water storage and how you can prepare for disasters, visit beready.utah.gov. Be Ready, Utah. A message from the Utah Department of Public Safety.
Jeff Kaplan. When you're online, that's sometimes a source of fourth-hand information. Somebody does the reporting. Another website Googles, they find it, they rewrite it, and by the time you read it, you know the old game telephone. But KSL is a source of primary information. We have reporters on the street. They're out in the field finding out the details. And the difference between online and KSL News Radio, night and day.
Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News, 3 to 7 on KSL News Radio.
Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Tariffs, tariffs, tariffs. This is Taylor Morgan alongside Rusty Cannon here on KSL Inside Sources. Rusty, Donald Trump on Friday announced the implementation of new tariffs targeting Mexico, Canada, and China. We know that since that announcement, President Trump has negotiated a deal with the president of Mexico to forestall the tariff on Mexican products being imported into the U.S. for a month.
But what about the Canadians?
Oh, here we go. Let's talk about the Canadians. The Canadians are not happy about this tariff, Rusty. We heard earlier this morning on David Dujanovic, we heard some booing by Canadians, really canceling the U.S. national anthem.
Yeah, it was at a hockey game, wasn't it?
Quite rude for our polite neighbors to the north, Rusty. That's not typical Canadian behavior, but can one blame them, really? This tariff, the 25% tariff on Canadian goods coming into the U.S., it's significant, Rusty. This is a big story. Let's maybe talk in large general terms to start. How do you think this impacts our relationship with these countries? Obviously, the southern border crisis is real, and our relationship with Mexico is very different than our relationship with Canada, but we're treating them the same when it comes to these tariffs. Why is that, do you think?
Well, it seems to be a bit of a shotgun approach by President Trump. I would argue that it is working. Since I don't think it was directly related to this, but we all know that essentially Trudeau is on his way out at this point.
He's already resigned pending his party's choice for the new leader, right?
And that was coming after President Trump was making fun of them being the 51st state and all. And I think a lot of that is theater. But getting back to the conversation we had in the last segment with leverage, this is the way that he's been operating, and it'll be interesting to see. If you remember the last time, and I can't remember what triggered it, the last time there was a back and forth between the president and Trudeau, Trudeau ended up down in Mar-a-Lago, sitting down with President Trump quickly.
Yeah. And they have met. I believe they, again, are planning to speak.
Yeah, in fact, I think it's right now. It was 3 o'clock Eastern, so they might be on the phone right now.
Yeah, exactly. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, this is another thing that he posted, I would say, over the weekend, President Trump, and he only used a few caps, because some of them now are in all caps, and I think that's losing its steam. Maybe just don't capitalize every letter, and it'll be a little more effective. But this is what he said. The tariff lobby, headed by the globalist and always wrong Wall Street Journal, is working hard to justify countries like Canada, Mexico, China, and too many others to name, continue the decades-long rip-off of America, that's in caps, both with regard to trade, crime, and poisonous drugs that are allowed to so freely flow into America. Those days are over. So one question that comes up is, do these tariffs affect, for example, fentanyl? It doesn't affect fentanyl because it's not obviously that's illegal. The tariffs aren't hitting the fentanyl. The idea is that the tariff is a penalty to the country of Mexico for not doing more to stop the inflow of fentanyl. And hopefully that's something that comes about. But this is his strategy, is just swing with a big stick and see what happens.
Yeah. I want to talk about one of the potential economic consequences of these tariffs, Rusty. We know that they are set to go into effect tomorrow, Tuesday. Of course, that would be not the Mexican. We have come to a deal with Mexico.
For 30 days.
The tariff on Mexico will not go into effect for 30 days. We are going to, pending the conversation, I should say, with Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and President Donald Trump that is happening right now, we're told. We'll see what happens with the Canadian tariff. But barring any changes, they will take effect tomorrow. This means that consumers most likely will not get a reprieve from not only inflation and the cost of goods, but also interest rates.
Yeah.
It is and I'm not an economist, but my understanding is that these tariffs are going to make the likelihood of interest rate cuts by the Federal Reserve a lot less likely this year. Do you think that's fair?
Well, it depends, because if economic growth slows down significantly due to whatever, if it's tariffs or whatever, that actually will bring the cuts sooner, because a slowing economy is not what the Fed wants. That's one of their dual mandate. They want to keep the economy moving. So I think if you had a real hiccup in the economy and things really came to a halt or a slowdown because of this, I think that would actually speed up interest rate cuts. But it could go the other way. If it engenders higher inflation and hotter economic growth or just higher prices, then yes, definitely those would be more on pause. But there was worry about the stock market really hitting the skids today. That was very temporary this morning. A lot of it aided by the news about Mexico, and now the market is just down. I think it's less than 1%.
Yeah.
I don't want to minimize that, but it's not the panic that everybody thought.
Well, let's talk about that, because one of the key storylines of these tariffs is when Donald Trump announced them on Friday, close to the end of the market day before the weekend. Do you think there was some strategy about that?
Well, I thought you had a good point. I think there's reason to do it over the weekend, and then he obviously spent the whole weekend talking to reporters at times and others, and all of the debate could happen before markets open, so to speak, on Monday, and then obviously being implemented tonight at midnight. Was it going to be midnight tonight for all three? I'm trying to remember. But now Mexico's on a pause, and the other two rolling forward.
Yeah,
now,
the
other thing, too,
set. Yeah.
we should clarify, as far as I've read, it's only a 10% penalty on energy imports into the U.S. from Canada, not 25%.
Okay.
For what it's worth.
Interesting. Do you know, not to put you on the spot, Rusty, but do you know what we're talking about in terms of how much? I would assume,
well, I don't know how much, but you have oil and gas imports, whether it's through pipeline or truck or what have you, from Canada to the United States. It is sizable. We do get a good amount of energy, as far as I know, over the border. We'd have to ask our friends in the oil and gas business, but it's significant. So,
and that would have an impact on gas prices at the pump.
Oh, it absolutely would. Yeah, it absolutely would. And so that's the idea. So you have a place like the Tax Foundation in Washington, D.C. They're a nonpartisan think tank. I've used them a lot for a lot of information. I don't always agree with them, but they are estimating that if the Trumps were to fully be imposed, that it would amount to somewhere in an average of $830 of an increase for the average household in the U.S. That has a ton of assumptions baked into it, so I don't know if I buy that. But that's what they're throwing out as sort of a, hey, what's the quantity meaning here for your average household? Maybe that's true, maybe it's not. But the worry is that it does create a significant impact on consumers and voters and all, and then you have the backlash for the president. However, as we've already covered, for 1 out of 3 cases here, meaning Mexico, it's already worked.
Yeah. Okay, I want to talk about the legality of these tariffs in the first place. President Trump is using a nearly 50-year-old law to justify these new tariffs, Rusty, and there have been some questions raised about whether or not this is even legal to start with. He is the first president ever to invoke the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. This is a great acronym. We love the federal government acronyms, don't we?
Yes, IEPA.
IEPA?
Yes.
IEEPA. That
Yes.
sounds great to me. That is the law that President Trump is using to impose these new tariffs. Do we think we're going to see some legal challenges as a consequence?
Yeah, so this was passed in 1997, had that wonderful name that you mentioned, International
That's
Emergency.
when I graduated from high school.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, go Bengals.
There you go. International Emergency Economic Powers Act grants the president broad authority over economic transactions and a wide range of abilities to deal with any, quote, any unusual and extraordinary threat, unquote. I'm not the attorney. We probably need Greg here to tell us if we're wrong, but it seems like it'd be a waste of time to go to court and try to get them to dial in on what they think any unusual and extraordinary threat is. The president's obviously making a case that there are many types of reasons for him to invoke this. So we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I'm not aware of any lawsuits yet, Rusty. I'd be surprised if we don't see some. Yet perhaps the fact that these tariffs haven't already been forestalled by pending litigation, that we don't have an injunction yet. And again, I want to be careful here. That may be forthcoming any minute, but we haven't seen it yet. And Rusty, Donald Trump's opponents on some of his other orders have wasted zero time filing litigation. So
correct.
It
seems like seconds after we've already
been at this a few days, and we haven't seen a motion yet, Rusty, is what I'm saying.
Attorneys are happy.
Yeah, that's right. Well, stay right here with us on KSL Inside Sources. Rusty and I will continue the conversation about these tariffs, their economic and their political implications, coming up after the break here on Inside Sources.
Good afternoon. It's 1:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Maria Chaleos. KSL's top local story this half hour. The Corey Richens case was back in court today. The Park City mom is accused of killing her husband and then writing a children's book about dealing with grief. Today, the judge and lawyers on both sides discussed what kinds of questions they will ask potential jurors during jury selection, which will begin in April. Lawmakers are making sure that they cast their votes not for bills, but for the name of the Utah Hockey Club. The Smith Entertainment Group wanted to make sure that they got a chance to chime in even during their busiest time.
They wanted to include your votes as well in case you didn't get to a game. And so if you go back in the back of the Senate chamber, you are welcome to go back there and vote. The team name is now down to 3 options: Outlaws, Mammoth, or keeping the Utah Hockey Club. The final results will be revealed before next season. Our top national story from ABC News. The arm of the U.S. government that funds global humanitarian work has seen its senior ranks ousted, and it's now being run by Secretary of State Marco Rubio.
The U.S. Agency for International Development was created in the early 1960s, initially as a branch of the State Department. Congress made it independent in the late 90s, but Secretary of State Rubio says he's running it now to bring what he considers a rogue agency to heel.
The attitude that USAID has adopted over the years is, no, we are independent of the national interest. We fund programs irrespective of whether it's aligned or not aligned with a foreign policy. That's ridiculous.
Democrats argue only Congress can dissolve an independent agency. Stephen Portnoy, ABC News, Washington.
Your money at this moment. The Dow is down by 83 points, about 0.25%, sitting at 44,461. S&P down by 37. The NASDAQ down by nearly a full percent, down 182 points. We're enjoying spring-like temperatures. Coming up, KSL weather as well as traffic. KSL News Time, 1:31.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
This is Derek Overstreet of the New Millennium Group and host of Stop Working and Start Living Radio. If you're close to or in retirement and you don't have a tax plan, call us right now, 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. Listen, our country's been spending like never before, and the tax bill is coming soon. If you need an income tax strategy and a financial plan that will get you through the rest of your life, give my team a call, 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. If you want an investment plan that allows you to keep more of your gains and pay less taxes, give us a call, 888-999-6370. My team specializes in the type of plan that will get you retired 3 to 5 years sooner than you thought possible. So, get a no-cost tax analysis by calling 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. My team is standing by now.
At Intermountain Children's Health, we've created a bold plan called Primary Promise to build the nation's model health system for children. Help us achieve this once-in-a-generation vision so together we can bring the world-class care of Primary Children's Hospital closer to home for every child in our communities. For more than a century, Primary Children's has kept the child first and always. Join us for the next 100 years. To learn more, visit primarypromise.org.
Hi, I'm Miley O'Keefe. In competitive gymnastics, flexibility and precision are crucial, and Les Olson IT knows how important flexibility and precision are to your business. It's why they deliver the very best IT, security, office equipment, collaborative technology, and so much more. Let Les Olson IT's Perfect 10 service empower your business at lesolsonit.com.
Les Olson IT.
Jackson Hewitt makes taxes feel like a yacht rock song.
Breeze, give me my biggest tax refund, please. You, me, and a lifetime accuracy guarantee.
And now get $100 just to try Jackson Hewitt. Does your tax person do that?
Say goodbye to that no guarantee tax guy.
Ready to sail through tax season? Go to Jackson Hewitt and you'll be... Limited time offer for new clients. Participating locations only. Terms at jacksonhewitt.com.
It's a classic odor tale. You fried fish for dinner, cleaned up, but the smell is still in the house. And the neighbors are coming over for game night. They're on their way. And then you spray Febreze Air Mist. Febreze Air starts working instantly to fight even your toughest odors, so you go from fish to fresh like that. Now all you have to worry about is Pam cheating at charades.
Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la.
Traffic and weather together. It's brought to you by Mountain America's limited time balance transfer bonus. And here's Ricky Meese.
Back to a quiet drive on the Valley freeways. No accidents, no delays. Your main secondaries and side streets, all pretty quiet right now. Whipple Service Champions, your cooling, heating, plumbing, drains, and electrical specialist. Whipple that away. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Record-breaking temperatures for the next couple of days. Today's high 65. We're already at 64 degrees downtown. Chance of showers increasing from Wednesday through Friday. A good chance of showers. Right now, 64 degrees. I'm Maria Chaleos from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. A new presidency, new state leaders, and a new legislative session. Utah's top political experts discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
Welcome back to Inside Sources. I'm your co-host, Rusty Cannon, here with Taylor Morgan. Taylor, we've talked a lot about tariffs in the last couple of segments. We're going to continue talking about that. While the tariffs are bound to have effects on national and international economies, we are going to focus on Utah, our home state. So we're going to chat with an expert that we're lucky to have here in studio with us on how all these tariffs work and how they might affect us here in Utah. Jonathan Friedman is the CEO and president of the World Trade Center Utah. Jonathan, thanks for joining us today.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Jonathan, let me start here. Why is it that Utah has a World Trade Center? Is that something that other states have, or does Utah just punch above its weight, so to speak, when it comes to global trade?
Well, Utah does punch above its weight. Absolutely. There's over 300 World Trade Centers around the world. We're unique in that we're not just a real estate play where you put the name on the building and then charge a premium to tenants. We actually utilize our network programs and services to provide real value to Utah's business community. We, in a sense, spearhead economic development globally for Utah companies and help them grow into new markets around the world.
So you guys have a front row seat to how all this tariff stuff works. Obviously, we've covered at length the news. Canada, Mexico, China. Mexico paused for 30 days. Let's say these tariffs move forward as is. Let's say Mexico comes back on in 30 days. Same with Canada and China. And these stick, so to speak. What happens to us in Utah?
Well, this is very fluid, and it's we'll see how all this plays out. It's changing by the minute, as you noted. Mexico is paused for a month, it looks like, and President Trump is speaking with Prime Minister Trudeau at the moment, is my understanding. So we should hear shortly about Canada. But we depend pretty heavily in our state on international trade. 95% of the world's consumers live outside the United States, and Utah is entrepreneurial and globally minded. So it's going to have a significant impact. I mean, 25% of Utah jobs rely on global trade. So it's not an insignificant number there. And 85% of Utah exporters are small and medium-sized companies, which is important because, we don't have like Fortune 500 companies in this state. They have the ability, big companies have the ability to navigate stuff like this. They can reallocate capital and bring, factories onshore quickly. They have, access to law firms that can help them circumvent loopholes and that sort of thing. Whereas our small companies are, it makes our economy resilient, but it also makes us susceptible to things like tariffs where we don't have the same capabilities.
Is there anything your office can do to support Utah businesses that will be impacted by these tariffs?
I'm glad you asked. Yes, we actually have significant tools that can help. This is it's uncharted waters for a lot of companies. People know how to do exactly what they do. They deliver value to their customers well, but then you get something like this. It's out of their control, and so we want to be that resource. People can reach out to us at WTCutah.com. We have an excellent team of seasoned professionals that can help companies source manufacturing in different countries that are not where we're not seeing tariffs being imposed. Same thing with exports. When we impose tariffs, often countries impose retaliatory tariffs, right? And so now all of a sudden that affects our exports. And the whole point of the tariff situation is to balance our trade with other countries, right? So we can help companies source other countries where that are unaffected. That's just one example.
Okay, so if I heard you correctly, if a company does have questions, they could call you or go to your website and then reach out to your organization and say, hey, I source widgets from Mexico. I need another alternative. You guys can provide them or at least point them in some other directions?
That's right. So depending on their product, we can say, hey, maybe Peru or Indonesia or Vietnam make more sense for you. The important thing is that we can help them develop contingency plans, because who knows what's next, right? This is an ever-changing global environment. And so our team really can mobilize to help them prepare. So they have different levels to pull, different options.
Yeah. Do you have any examples or historical context to perhaps how tariffs or trade wars, so to speak, in the past have directly impacted, Utah businesses? Anything come to mind that is an example that we should be aware of?
Well, I can tell you that I was an entrepreneur for 30 years before selling my company and ultimately working for World Trade Center Utah. And there were a handful of times in my past where I found myself in the situation that we're talking about now, in unfamiliar territory, felt powerless. And I turned to World Trade Center Utah and saw real results. We provide thought leadership and bring in national and global experts to provide access to companies working here. For example, during the supply chain crisis, we brought in the Federal Maritime Commissioner, who was really helpful in helping. Our ships were offshore and our product was on hold, but he helped us understand ways in which we could renegotiate with the shipping container or with shipping forwarders, freight forwarders, shipping lines. So that's one example of how we are able to step in and assist companies that are really struggling.
So I'm curious, with your overview of Utah businesses and where we're interacting with around the globe, is there a country or countries that keep you up at night of, oh, no, don't cut off things there? Whether it's Mexico, you mentioned all these other countries. I'm just really curious, are there ones that maybe we haven't thought of that we're getting a ton of product from that we just didn't realize it here in Utah?
Well, we're talking about tariffs being imposed on our top trading partners. Mm-hmm. So Canada, Mexico, China, those are important countries to us. But man, it's a big world out there, and there's lots of partners. We just in the month of January, we hosted 17 dignitaries from different countries in Utah, and we bring them together with Utah companies to explore options in working in countries all around the world. So, as I said, we're globally minded. We speak more languages here than any other state. Often Utahns will go and spend time in other countries, and we're industrious. We're the Beehive State. We're entrepreneurial, and this naturally leads to international trade.
Yeah, all these things you mentioned tie into Utah's economic strength. We really do have the strongest economy in the nation, the fastest growing economy. So much of this ties into not only our work ethic, but global relationships. I think you mentioned that 20% of Utah's job market is tied to international trade.
25%, 433,000 jobs in our state rely on international trade.
So that's even increased just over the last year. Let's talk exports. Mm-hmm. What kind of products does Utah export, and to what countries? And you mentioned the threat of retaliatory tariffs. Let's talk about that for a moment. What would you say?
Yeah, that's true. So we export a wide variety of products and services around the world. When we impose tariffs on nations, they mirror often our actions, right? And so that now presents a whole set of problems for Utah companies that weren't initially affected by the import tariffs. One of our main sectors in the state is advanced manufacturing, and often that product is shipped globally. So it's tricky.
Yeah, it's a complicated mess, as we can see coming forward. It'll be interesting to watch these events unfold. As we know, Mexico paused. for now, China and Canada going forward, and it sounds like it's definitely going to have an impact on Utah businesses. Thank you for joining us today. It's been neat to hear
customers,
about it.
Businesses and
Good
customers.
point, yes.
I mean, these are inflationary measures.
Yeah, thank you. Very important.
WTCutah.com is the website. Okay,
thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. I'm not sure if my microphone is working. Okay, next on Inside Sources, we're going to stay on the national and international stage and talk more about the U.S. stopping funding to foreign countries through USAID. That's up next.
Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, 2 locations, Sandy and Hurricane. Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Washington County Legacy Park. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates, this weekend only. Mountain America Expo Center. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Washington County Legacy Park. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. 2 locations, Sandy and Hurricane. Friday, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Mountain America Expo Center, Washington County Legacy Park. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
KSL Broadcast Group contests are open to participants 18 years of age and older that are residents of Utah, unless otherwise specified. Employees or agents of the station, Bonneville International Corporation, other area radio stations, or any entity associated with the contest may not enter. Persons who have won in the last 30, 60, or 90 days from a station contest or event may not be eligible. Full general contest rules are available at kslnewsradio.com/contests.
You bought a house, or maybe you're building one, but it just isn't feeling like home. Not yet. AMC Building Materials has this undeniable knack for transforming a house into a home. Your home. How do they do that? They combine years of exceptional kitchen and bath creations with your ideas. In fact, customer satisfaction is their #1 priority. You know what you want. You know it's not going to be cookie cutter. And this is exactly where AMC shines. AMC delivers exceptional quality, bold-style kitchen and bath designs, along with their exceptional value and a timeline you'll love. Most projects are complete by the elite AMC professional installers in under 10 days. Immerse yourself in the beauty, function, and feel in person at the AMC Building Materials Showroom in Salt Lake City. Get directions and schedule your free estimate at amckitchenslc.org. AMC Building Materials, transforming your house into a home. amckitchenslc.org.
Seems everything costs more these days. Gas, groceries, and when's the last time you checked your wireless bill? Yikes. When it comes to big wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Here's how to get the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill. Switch to Consumer Cellular. Plans start at just $20 a month, and that's not a short-term promo. Our US-based experts will get you switched and saving in about 20 minutes. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com and start saving today. Plans include $5 credit for autopay and e-billing.
Tired of hearing scary radio ads about the IRS? Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000 or $500,000, we have a solution. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS with zero risk to you. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with a BBB. End your tax nightmare today by visiting TRA.com or call 800-275-1728. That's 800-275-1728.
Is your financial advisor offering you up to a 30% upfront bonus? Are they promising you up to 10% growth per year guaranteed for your retirement income? If not, you need a new financial advisor. I'm Jeff Jr., founder of Trajan Wealth. If you plan to retire within the next 10 years, don't wait only to find out it's too late. I've seen hard-working folks like you retire only to be required to go back to work, all because their advisor told them guarantees like these were too good to be true. They're not. That's up to $30,000 up front or up to $10,000 per year on $100,000, all guaranteed for retirement income. Don't work when you're supposed to be retired. And if any financial advisor tells you it's too good to be true, they simply don't have the options we do. Call Trajan today at 801-899-7600.
Annuity guarantees are based on the claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company.
Any Hour Services can help you make sure your furnace keeps you warm this winter. Whether you need a tune-up, a repair, or a second opinion about replacing it, call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
On the surface, it seemed like just another Cinderella story.
A team that was predicted to finish dead last is now waiting to play the first round of the playoffs.
But Real Salt Lake's 2021 playoff run was so much more than what happened on the pitch.
Our club is burning to the ground.
This is the tip of the iceberg. Making of a Moment, the RSL story, is available now.
I just kind of got chills right now thinking about it.
Follow us at makingamomentpod.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio says he's taken the helm of USAID. Rusty, one of my favorite acronyms of the federal government. They just keep on coming.
That's your favorite acronym?
No, I said one of.
One of. Okay.
Rusty. It's
right.
maybe in my top 20. There's so many. Doge
20.
is definitely in the top 10, I will say. USAID, I'm just going to say USAID because I think
quicker.
that's the whole point of the acronym to start with. Marco Rubio says that USAID is a rogue agency and it is time to rein it in. And this comes as Doge, D-O-G-E leader Elon Musk says USAID needs major cleaning, saying it's, quote, not an apple with a worm in it, but actually just a ball of worms. That is a direct quote.
He got very
Elon
descriptive
Musk.
there. Yes.
He did. Rusty, let's start here. What is your understanding of USAID and their role?
Well, I'm going to actually steal the thunder. Well, no, I don't want to steal the thunder from ABC News correspondent Stephen Portnoy, and he's going to explain this a little bit.
The U.S. Agency for International Development was created in the early 1960s, initially as a branch of the State Department. Congress made it independent in the late 90s, but Secretary of State Rubio says he's running it now to bring what he considers a rogue agency to heel.
The attitude that USAID has adopted over the years is, no, we are independent of the national interest. We fund programs irrespective of whether it's aligned or not aligned with a foreign policy. That's ridiculous.
Democrats argue only Congress can dissolve an independent agency. Stephen Portnoy, ABC News, Washington.
All right, so we heard it from Stephen. So this is interesting. According to what I've read, this USAID, as you put it, operates under the jurisdiction of the President of the United States. It's an executive branch agency, and if I read this correctly, Taylor, he can certainly do this. He can absolutely shutter this, as far as I can tell.
Yes.
Now, we're going to get into the details and why that might not be such a good idea to just go ahead and shut it down, but you had an interesting perspective. In your work in D.C., you worked directly with this organization. Did I hear that correctly?
I did. I spent some time working on the Hill in Washington, D.C. I worked for the House Committee on Foreign Affairs. I spent significant time traveling overseas. My area was Central Asia. So think Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan.
The stands.
All the stands. Spent a lot of time there. Had a lot of interaction with USAID and, of course, with the State Department. Rusty, I had mixed experiences. Now, I want to start from a place of giving the civil servants and the appointees and the career employees of the State Department and of USAID. I want to give them full faith and credit for their hard work and their best intentions. We know that USAID is the U.S. government arm of global humanitarian work. That is the purpose of USAID. USAID is to support humanitarian efforts around the world.
Yes.
However, despite the best intentions, Rusty, there are a ton of issues with USAID. My experiences with them, it's been a decade plus. I want to be clear about that. I don't want to be too generalized or stereotypical, but I had experiences. So, for example, the idea here, the ideological argument behind USAID is that by promoting humanitarian work and funding in countries, we will help in the long term, in the very, very long term, Rusty. That seed money will help develop free market economies and democratic elections and institutions that will be aligned with U.S. foreign policy in the long term, right? That is ultimately was the impetus behind USAID and its formation. But Rusty, in my experience, it has run amok. It is not an efficient way to spend $28 billion of American tax dollars.
Every year.
Every year.
Yeah, $28 billion going out the door. So the countries that typically are receiving U.S. aid would be places like the stands that you mentioned, whether it's Afghanistan or other places. I would submit that most of the governing officials, many, I should say, of the governing officials in a lot of these countries, I'm sure there are lots of good people. However, there is absolutely no guarantee, and maybe you saw this, where that money gets used for what it was intended.
That's exactly
Meaning
right.
you parachute $100 million into a country. There's no way that all is going to where it's supposed to. You have people taking it off the top. You have people pocketing it. You have people giving it to their friends. You have people just flat out fraud. All kinds of things that maybe not only doesn't get to where you thought it would, but also can go to fund things that are completely opposed.
That's right. Well, an example, and this was not USAID funding, to be clear, but an example on the nuclear scale, perhaps, Rusty, of something that is happening on a humanitarian level with this quasi-agency. Let's look at what happened with the economic grants, the money that the U.S. gave Iran to deter the development of its nuclear weapons program.
Yeah.
What happened to that money? Where do we know? We know where those dollars went and how it ended up. It went into paying for nuclear weapons that could be used against the United States and our allies, and it was paid for with tax dollars. Now, I'm not claiming USAID money is going to weapons development, Rusty, but it is going to thugs and criminals and terrorists across the world.
Yeah, so President Trump over the weekend, when pressed about this, said that he loved the concept but not the execution of the agency's mission.
Well said.
Yeah, I think that was very fair of him to say, and I agree with him. Now, he did go on to say a little more pointedly, it's been run by a bunch of radical lunatics, and we're getting them out, and then we'll make a decision on its future, he told reporters at the Air Force Base over the weekend.
That's probably not the nicest way to put it. I don't know about lunatics. We know that we have seen a purge of the senior staff at USAID. Yeah. Of course, Secretary of State Marco Rubio has taken it over. I also understand, Rusty, that USAID employees may have received an email today.
Yeah, apparently, according to an email that CNN obtained a copy of, USAID workers, most of them who are career government employees, were emailed shortly after midnight. And it said, apparently, quote, at the direction of agency leadership, the USAID headquarters at the Ronald Reagan Building in Washington, D.C. will be closed to agency personnel on Monday, February 3rd, 2025. Agency personnel normally assigned to work at USAID headquarters will work remotely tomorrow, with the exception of personnel with essential on-site and building maintenance functions contacted by senior leadership. So essentially they're saying, stay home.
Yeah.
That's quite a sudden move here. Now, I get the point. I don't know if I necessarily agree with just going, full sweep on this that quickly, but to your point, why would sunshine be a bad thing on this when we have $28 billion going out the door?
This is so hard, Rusty, and I'm personally so conflicted on this because I started my career wanting to work as a Foreign Service officer. And before having the professional experiences I did overseas working with State Department officials and with USAID officers, I probably would have dreamed of working at USAID, to be honest. I did my undergraduate work in political science and international studies. This is where I wanted to end up. Rusty, I didn't go that path in part because of the experiences I had working with USAID overseas. Great in theory, just like President Donald Trump said. Established in 1961 under President Kennedy. The whole point here is to create this powerful soft power tool, right, to promote diplomacy, development, to support institutions and free market economies. But the execution has been a real mess.
So the one issue that everybody will bring up or has brought up is the vacuum that it can create. And I understand that. So let's say there is you pick a third world country where we've been providing funding that does a lot of good and maybe some harm and some corruption and all, but doing some good, and that evaporates. Well, who can come right in? Well, China can come in and say, hey, we'll fill that gap. Well, now they have the influence and they have that soft power, and then maybe 10 years down the road, we really regret it.
Yeah.
And
well, here's the issue, and I'm sorry to jump in, Rusty, but the issue is that despite our best intentions and despite appropriating $28 billion annually to use this soft power tool, because it is so poorly executed, that vacuum already exists. By eliminating USAID or reducing its spending or scope or whatever we're going to end up doing with this under Secretary Marco Rubio, the vacuum already is there because China is there, and this money is not going where it's intended to go in the first place, right? So much to talk about. When we come back here on Inside Sources, we're going to talk about the Utah State budget and what's happening on the Hill. Stay right here. That's next.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Good afternoon. It's 2 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Maria Chaleos. KSL's top local story. Utah experts are warning that tariffs will have an impact on both businesses and consumers in our state. KSL News Radio's Adam Small explains.
World Trade Center Utah President and CEO Jonathan Friedman tells me if a Utah business manufactures and imports from a country with, say, a 25% tariff imposed, they have to pay 25% more, which means they'll likely have to charge customers 25% more.
Trade wars are real and they're expensive.
He also says tariffs impact our ability to buy goods from certain countries, hurting people not only here but outside the U.S. as well.
Friedman says if history is any indication, some tariffs can stick around for years. Our top national story from ABC News, officials have given an update on Friday's deadly jet crash in Philadelphia.
A round-the-clock investigation into Friday's crash of a medical transport flight in northeast Philadelphia. All 6 people on the small jet and 1 person on the ground were killed. New information on the injured from Philadelphia Mayor Sherelle Parker.
The number of people who have been treated so far with injuries that they suffered as a result of the crash has been increased from 22 to 24. 4 of those people remain hospitalized.
Parker says 2 of those 4 remain in critical condition. Dave Packer, ABC News.
Taking a look at your money at this moment at the close, the Dow down by 123 points. That's more than 0.25%, sitting at 44,422. S&P 500 down by 46. The NASDAQ down by 1.25%, down 235 points. Get out and enjoy these nice warm temperatures while they last. We'll check the forecast coming up next. KSL News Time, 2:02.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
In 2024, dating is a disaster. We've been ghosted, breadcrumbed, stuck in situationships. Hi, I'm Debbie. I'm Caitlin. Welcome to our new podcast, Dating at Her Age. Dating has been so dicey for us, we asked KSL, can we launch an all-new podcast about it?
People use these dating apps. You're not really dating when you're on the dating app.
Dating at Her Age, brought to you by Mountain Home Services. A new episode drops every Thursday on KSLNewsRadio.com.
At JCW's, we think tipping might be getting a little out of hand. Like when you're asked to tip at the register before you've even been served, or when you're at the yogurt shop and find yourself serving yourself. And don't even get us started on frosted tips making a comeback. That's why at JCW's, when you pay for a 3rd-pound ranch bacon cheeseburger, that's what you pay. And no one at the register is going to stare longingly at you while you awkwardly maneuver through the tip screen for food you don't even have yet. Honestly, we're just happy to see you at any of our 5 locations in Provo, South Jordan, Lehigh, Harriman, and American Fork. So come on in and enjoy some quality time and great food with family and friends. And we promise, we won't be pushing you for a tip.
Hey, this is Chris with JCW's, and we just want to say thank you, and especially to our loyal customers. We want you to know that at JCW's, your business is all the tip we need. JCW's, quality and a lot of it.
Salt Lake Community College doesn't just support students, we support the economy.
Ken Garf has recently partnered with SLCC, which provides an affordable automotive program, which gives an easy pathway to come work for Ken Garf. The more a technician is trained, the higher producing they become, and it's better for our overall business. My name is Sebastian, and I'm responsible for Ken Garf's technician recruitment efforts.
SLCC is invested in creating a strong workforce for a strong Utah. See our impact at slcc.edu/community.
At Intermountain Children's Health, we've created a bold plan called Primary Promise to build the nation's model health system for children. Help us achieve this once-in-a-generation vision so together we can bring the world-class care of Primary Children's Hospital closer to home for every child in our communities. For more than a century, Primary Children's has kept the child first and always. Join us for the next 100 years. To learn more, visit primarypromise.org.
Traffic and weather together. It's brought to you by Mountain America's limited time balance transfer bonus. Ricky, what's going on?
We've had a report of an accident in the Draper Bluffdale area, southbound I-15 at the top of the ramp at 146 South. And in that crash, there may be fluids from the vehicles leaking, but so far I'm not seeing any problems. We do have some leftover delays on northbound I-15 going from Centerville up to Farmington, where once again UHP had done a traffic slowdown on the freeway. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
A high today of 65, 66 tomorrow, but then the showers move in, and we have a good chance of showers for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday with highs in the mid-50s. Right now, 64 degrees at KSL News Radio. I'm Maria Chaleos from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. A new presidency, new state leaders, and a new legislative session. Utah's top political experts discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
Eye on the Hill 2025. Special coverage on Inside Sources.
Welcome back to Inside Sources for our second hour. I'm your co-host, Rusty Cannon, here with Taylor Morgan. And Taylor, as you full well know, we're dressed for it every day. We're entering week 3 of the 2025 Legislative General Session.
Feels like week 7, Rusty.
But it is only week 3.
And perhaps that's in large part because of this topic.
Yes. So as it works in Utah now, and this is because of a veto done by a governor many years ago. I believe it was Governor Olene Walker. She once vetoed the entire base budget of the Utah legislature. It was over a fight that I don't remember what it was about, but to mitigate that not being a problem anymore, now at the start of each session, they go through and adopt what is called a base budget, right? So if everything blew up in negotiations after that, they've at least allocated for a base budget, right? Keeping the lights on as we go forward.
Okay, Rusty, I have to stop you there before my eyes glaze over and all of our listeners fall asleep at the wheel in traffic.
Don't tune out yet.
Okay, stay safe. This is, I think, really exciting and interesting, Rusty, because I often tell people that the most interesting, difficult, controversial years at the Utah State Legislature are when we do not have a surplus, right?
Yeah.
When there is a zero budget like this, we have 0 in 0 is the famous quote we have heard from legislative leaders. It is setting up a very interesting fight and dynamic up on Capitol Hill. And there is a lot happening that is all a product of this base budget, Rusty.
Yes, exactly. So if people don't know, our fiscal year at the legislature operates on a different than calendar year basis. So we're actually in the middle of fiscal year 2025. It ends on June 30th of 2025. We'll start fiscal year 2026 on July 1st of this year, and that's the budget that the legislature is negotiating now is the fiscal year 2026 budget.
None of this makes any sense to me. Those CPAs out there, they get it, but I think it's very confusing.
Well, let me try to make it simple for you. They thought they would have a certain amount of money in December when they look at the revenues and forecast and said, okay, we think we're going to roughly have, at the time, about $11.6 billion in now the budget's bigger when you include federal, but I'm just talking about just what the legislature really has control over. $11.6 billion and change. They then update that forecast in the December meeting to about $12 billion, where they thought they'd have about $400 million or so in what I would call extra new revenue. The problem is with that extra new revenue is then they do what are called set-asides, and they do that in December before the session starts. And just to keep it simple, basically all of that new money, and this happens every year at this point, all of that new money goes to education, public education, or Medicaid expansion.
Do you have a set-aside in your family budget for your Costco trips, Rusty?
I do not, but I probably should.
You probably should.
Yes.
That's a good budgeting tool.
Yes, a set-aside. And so it was around $400 billion. All of that virtually is eaten up by three things: public education, Medicaid expansion and what leadership has decided to do, which is set aside, thankfully, about $160 million or so for a tax reduction.
Yeah.
Whether that it goes income tax or Social Security, that's a whole nother debate. You add all those things up, the money's gone. Meaning there's no new revenue. So now they're going back to those appropriations committees and saying, hey, get used to working with what you have, because that's what you got. And that's what you need to work with.
And my understanding is that 90% of the state's budget has already been set aside.
Yeah.
That we are now, with 35 days left to go in the 2025 general session, and the Utah legislature is constitutionally required to balance its budget in the session. Is that right? Or is it just in the fiscal year?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So they have to get there. They have to make all of those spending decisions in the next 35 days, and they're done for the fiscal year.
Yeah.
They have only 10% of the budget to work with.
Yeah. Yeah, and you make a good point. In years, and I remember experiencing this in very recent years, coming out of COVID and when we had all the federal stimulus and all, there were massive budget surpluses. And they spent and spent and spent. And I think there's a very reasonable case to be made that they overspent and raised that budget. Because now we're talking about $12 billion. Just a few years ago, it was more around $8 billion. Like
That's
we're
right.
talking about a big jump.
Our budget has increased dramatically over the last 20 years.
Yeah, it's increased a ton. And that's a good thing. And that means tax receipts. It doesn't mean, and that's been tax receipts while lowering tax rates.
Yeah.
It's just due to a growing economy and a strong state. It's not because they're just, raising rates. But as it stands now, they used to make the joke a year or two ago, this is a socks and underwear year. That's what you're getting for Christmas. I think this year they basically say, well, you're really not getting anything for Christmas.
Okay, well, let's talk about that. I want to dive into this, Rusty, because you in your previous role, you were with the Utah Taxpayers Association.
Mm-hmm.
You're now president of the Credit Union Association here in Utah.
Yeah.
You know what the budget means for real people in real time.
Yeah.
What can our listeners, the everyday Utahn, what should they expect? How will their lives be directly impacted by Utah's budget decisions that are happening right now?
Well, the problem is that there's no short-term high that'll come off of it. Even if they cut taxes significantly right now, it takes time for that to work through the system.
Can I ask a question? Sorry to interrupt you. Governor Cox's proposal to eliminate the state income tax on Social Security benefits, is that included in the budget? Is that a set-aside? Do we know yet?
We don't know, because they just call it a tax reduction set-aside, and they're now arguing over whether it's going to be Social Security or income tax.
Got it. Okay, sorry to interrupt you, Rusty.
No problem. And so the point being, as they tighten the belt and curtail the growth of the budget over time, that frees up more money for tax reduction and returning more money to taxpayers' pockets. That takes a long time to come to fruition. And you hear every year the argument of, it's just another 5 basis points of a tax cut. That's $20 to my family. Who cares? But over this will be 5 years, if they do 5 years in a row on income tax, of a significant, I think it's about $450 million annually income tax cut from where we were at 4.95 to now 4.50, if that's the proposal that goes through. That's a big amount of money back into people's pockets. So that's the return that maybe you were asking about, that people can see with curtailed growth in the growth of government. In other states, it's going the exact opposite way. In other blue states, where those budgets just go up, up, and up, like in California, where they're just continually raising taxes to plug that hole. And that's not the case in Utah. Our legislature does govern themselves very, very prudently year after year. Now, I just sort of spoke against myself when in recent years they've really raised that budget. Yes, in recent years that has raised quite a bit. But the vast bulk of it, if not all of it or most of it, has gone to public education.
Is there any hope in the future, Rusty, that Utah will eliminate its state income tax? Is that even possible?
I don't think it is. I mean, I think it was a
What is
wonderful
the current
proposal.
rate for the state income
well,
tax?
It's 4.55.
And the legislature is hoping to potentially drop that.
4.50, which sounds really boring.
I mean, it's better than 4.55, Rusty. We're going the right direction, right?
Yeah, it's moving it over time. Current leadership prefers to move slowly. You have states like Arizona that did a massive cut. They went from 4.5 to 2.5 in 1 year, which was massive. And they're having some consequences on that. Our leadership now prefers to move at a slower pace, which is hard to argue with. But there are some other proposals in the works where maybe we put a bill in place that has revenue triggers, where as revenues grow, it just automatically cuts. That's a very popular idea. I personally hope that passes. We've tried to do that for years.
How much of our state's budget is federal? How much do we get in federal dollars?
That's a good question. The total is up around $30 billion. So based on what we just talked about, I would assume it's at least $10 billion or so. It's a ton. We rely heavily on federal budget. The reason we don't talk about it when we're talking about what the legislature is doing, and I mentioned just $12 billion, is that's really not in their control.
Yeah.
It's money that's coming whether we like it or not.
Got it.
Yeah. So it's a different world as far as how Utah operates versus the rest of the country.
Yeah.
All right. So I apologize for nerding out on the budget there. Hopefully everybody's still with us.
Yeah.
I think, definitely. But coming up on Inside Sources, the Utah State Senate has circled the public labor union bill that has been controversial. And we're now getting a look at what changes might be coming. More on that next.
Join the smartest conversation in Utah, the team of analysts and political advisors that make up Inside Sources. Get unfiltered analysis of the new administration, the president's cabinet, and Utah's upcoming legislative session. Inside Sources, weekdays from 1 to 3 on KSL News Radio.
Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, 2 locations, Sandy and Hurricane. Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Washington County Legacy Park. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates. This weekend only. Mountain America Expo Center. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Washington County Legacy Park. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. 2 locations, Sandy and Hurricane. Friday, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Mountain America Expo Center, Washington County Legacy Park. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
Paid for by government.com. Have you heard? A recent stash of 1902 Morgan silver dollar coins has been found. These gorgeous 1902 silver dollar coins are as bright and shiny as the day they were struck, and less than 300 of these Morgan silver dollars are available. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone interested in silver coins. Just call government at 1-800-806-1641, and you are guaranteed a mint condition 1902 Morgan silver dollar featuring the iconic old mint mark of the New Orleans Mint, but with limited quantity. You must call now. These 1902 silver coins are still in uncirculated condition. That is 122 years of history you can hold in your hand. To learn more, call 1-800-806-1641. Call now and you'll receive a free American Coin Collector's Bonus Package, a $25 value free with every order. Call 1-800-806-1641 now to secure your 1902 Morgan silver dollars before they sell out. That's 1-800-806-1641.
Are you in search of a fulfilling career where you can work on a team that provides you room to grow, learn, and thrive every day? Focus Engineering and Surveying is looking for individuals to join their team who take pride in the customer service they provide and have a passion for their clients to be successful. No experience in engineering, CAD design, or surveying? No problem. Focus will train those who fit their team culture for rewarding careers in surveying and CAD design. If you can align with the core ideology and the Focus team culture, if you're internally driven, team-oriented, client-focused, and love personal development and growth, Focus Engineering and Surveying is the place for you. Enjoy a positive work environment and paid internship opportunities, plus fantastic benefits like great health care with 80% employer-paid premium and HSA matched up to $200 per month, 401k, vacation, even annual performance bonuses. Start your journey towards your new and fulfilling career. Apply now at FocusUtah.com. That's FocusUtah.com.
Sherry, what have you done to your hair?
What do you mean? Does it not look good?
It doesn't look good. It looks freaking amazing. I can't believe how thick and healthy it looks. Oh, I must know your secret.
No secret. It's hair volume from New Nordic.
Hair volume, huh? Well, it certainly lives up to its name. Your hair has never looked so thick. It is gorgeous.
I was so tired of having thin and brittle hair. Ugh, and the shedding. So I figured I'd give hair volume a try. Needless to say, I'm thrilled with the results. Hey, where are you going?
I'm gonna pick up some hair volume right now. My reunion's next month and I want my hair to look as good as yours.
Hair Volume is the best-selling hair tablet in the world and one of many award-winning natural health products from New Nordic, the #1 supplier of dietary supplements in Scandinavia. Purchase at newnordicusa.com or your local CVS. Available as a tablet or delicious gummy. Help your hair look full, voluminous, and beautiful again at new, NORDICUSA.com or CVS.
Jeff Kaplan. I'm energized by breaking news. First of all, because it's right now, and second of all, because in many cases the audience needs to know. There's no more important service that we can provide, and I find it critically important to get more details to the audience as quickly as possible. There's nothing more energizing than that for me. Not at all. The most important thing we do is breaking news. I am gratified that so many people listen to me every afternoon on KSL, but what they don't know is that there are so many people behind the scenes making it happen, checking on the traffic, answering the phones, making the calls, talking to the newsmakers. They're out in the street, into the field to get the raw information, and then putting it all together so that I can sit in front of a microphone and be a source of information every afternoon. But there are so many people who make it happen. That's what you don't know.
Ride Home with Jeff Kaplan, weekdays 3 to 7 on KSL News Radio.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
One of the most controversial bills working its way through the process up on Utah's Capitol Hill this session, Rusty, was put on pause for a bit of a facelift on Friday. Of course, we are talking about House Bill 267, sponsored by Representative Jordan Tusher from South Jordan. This bill, in its original form, was controversial because it would have prohibited collective bargaining for unions in the public sector.
Yes.
So that would directly impact teachers, firefighters, police officers, municipal workers, and others who are public sector employees and also union members.
Yes, you're right. One clarification, the bill, when they say doesn't allow for collective bargaining, the definition, generally speaking, of that means that they are the only party at the bargaining table. What the bill would do is say, you can't be the only one at the table. We will allow others to be at the bargaining table, which, to be fair, that is changing it, right? That is making it so, quote-unquote, collective bargaining for these public sector unions would not be allowed.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean they can't come to the table. I think some people are misunderstanding that. It just means they couldn't be the only one, and they see that as taking away their power. In all fairness, I can see their point, but that's the difference.
Yeah. Okay, let's start here. Representative Tusher has faced some criticism and some blowback for this bill in its original form. However, as I mentioned again on Friday, the bill was circled in the Senate. It had already passed out.
What does circling mean?
Great. Oh, Rusty Cannon.
See how I caught you there?
I'm so glad you asked.
You're nerding out on terms.
Yeah.
We got to just
So the bill has already made its way through the House.
Yes.
It has passed out of House committee. It did pass the House floor in a close vote, 42 to 32. That's a pretty close margin for a Republican bill on the floor of the Utah House of Representatives. Mm-hmm. So it then made its way over to the Utah State Senate last week, where Senate Majority Leader Kurt Cullimore, the Senate floor sponsor of the bill, circled it. And that means, Rusty, up on the picture the reading calendar up on the wall of the State Senate chamber. That bill is about to be debated, and the sponsor, Senator Kurt Cullimore, said, I want to circle that, which basically means let's put it on hold. Let's put a pin in it. We'll come back to it.
Yeah,
we're not
It.
ready.
Yeah, pause.
Yeah, so the bill has been paused. It is undergoing a facelift. Like I said, there are negotiations ongoing with the original bill sponsor, Representative Tusher, and these public sector employees. Rusty, I was up at the Capitol on Friday, and the halls out in front of both the House and the Senate chambers were packed with firefighters, police officers, with teachers. They were there in mass.
Yeah, it took me 30 minutes to park on Friday.
It was a huge show of... Let me put it this way. Everybody loves the firefighters and the teachers, but police officers coming to the Capitol, it's just not fair because they can park wherever they want.
That's
Rusty.
right. That's right. They do.
And, all credit to our law enforcement officers. I love you. Thank you for your service. Grateful for what you do. We need you. But can y'all carpool to the Capitol next time, or maybe get a ride with the firefighters? That's just what I'm saying. So, but no, they were there. I'm kidding, of course. They were there in huge numbers, Rusty. They clearly had a real impact on this bill, and the conversation, the negotiations are ongoing. And we will see the details coming out of what this new bill will look like. My understanding is that the new version of this bill will require unions to hold elections more frequently and will also require a 50% threshold of support among their union members in order to collective bargain.
Yes, you're exactly right.
Collectively bargain is the right way to say
I
it?
think you're saying it right.
Okay.
Yeah. So as far as we know, because it hasn't been made public yet, but the new substitute bill, which is a new version of it, would require that public unions, and we'll have to repeat this again, this is only talking about public unions. It is not talking about unions having to do with private companies. Public unions meaning teachers union, police union, firefighters union, those types, where they would need to conduct a recertification election every 5 years, which means every 5 years they would need to certify that, yes, we have been, I guess you'd say, elected or nominated by a majority, 50% plus one of our workers, so that we can represent them at the bargaining table, and then they can go forward and do collective bargaining, meaning they would be the only one at the table. If they don't get a majority vote, then, as the bill says, the class remains unrepresented, according to the bill, or what we understand the bill to say. This is a compromise. I did watch Senator Colomore when he did circle the bill. He did say at the time that it was his understanding that the labor unions were neutral on this other version, but it sounds like maybe that back and forth is still being debated. Renee Pinckney, she's with the teachers group. She said, while we're still reviewing the details, one thing is already clear. The pressure worked. Lawmakers heard us. They heard you. And while this fight is not over, it's a testament to what's possible when public workers stand in solidarity. So they're continuing to go back and forth. And I haven't looked at the Hill today, morning floor time, but we could check real quick while we're talking. I don't believe it was uncircled this morning. So this would go at least until tomorrow.
Yeah, I want to give a lot of credit to both sides on this, Rusty. This is how the process really should work and play out. We have seen that the bill sponsor, Representative Tusher, and I take him at his word when he says he did this with good intentions. His intent was not to attack public sector employees. He did not do this as retaliation to the Utah Education Association suing to void Amendment A from the ballot last November. He has always cared about union members and workers and has had concerns about the way they operate in Utah when it comes to representing their members. I take him at his word. I trust him when he says that. Mm-hmm. I think the fact that he was willing to have the bill circled and go to the table and negotiate with these groups, I think that says a lot about his intentions, his motivations here. Mm-hmm. I love that. I love, Rusty, when we see a group of stakeholders like the teachers, the police officers, the firefighters, mine workers. I mean, we're talking about a ton of public sector employees that showed up at the Capitol. This has been something they have been advocating about for weeks.
Yeah.
UEA, I know, has been collecting a petition, and they have over 13,000 signatures as of Friday, at least. So they have become energized. Yeah. They have had a real impact on this legislation. And even if they're neutral, if it's not something they can fully support, their advocacy directly changed this bill. And that is something I think worth celebrating on both sides.
Yeah, and to your point on Representative Tusher, he is absolutely genuine. All the interactions I've had with him over the years, he is always very genuine, always willing to listen. And I truly believe he is doing what he thinks is right. I will say, I think he could have pushed it through. And that's
absolutely
where, meaning he did not have to. They did not have to circle this bill.
That's a great point.
It did pass on what's called second. They vote on the bill twice in the Senate. It's called second reading and third reading. It passed on second reading with, I'd have to go back and look. I can't remember, it was 20 votes or somewhere in that boat. Then they could have passed it on third reading, and I think it would have passed.
It was 18-10.
Sorry, 18-10. Okay, so
it had the votes to pass without changing the language in response to the teachers and the firefighters and the police officers, Rusty.
Yeah. Now, I don't think this would happen, but if negotiations broke down, they could go back to the original or as it stands now and just pass it through.
Yeah.
And then it goes to the governor's desk, and I would hope he would sign it, but that would be the next step. They could pass this. Now, if they do substitute it again, meaning change it, it will have to go back to the House for another vote.
Yeah.
Now, if it's watering it down, obviously then it's going to pass even easier on the House. But the point being, there's a few steps left on this, and I think the leverage that Representative Tusher and others have is that they could push it through as is, and it will pass. That's my personal opinion, but I think that's backed up.
And so, listeners, Utah voters, anyone within the sound of my voice, if you feel like The Utah legislature does not hear you or won't listen to you. Case in point.
Yeah.
You can have an impact. Get involved, show up, find out who represents you up at the Capitol during this time of year. Let them know who you are and what you care about. Simply put, lawmakers need this kind of input.
Oh, it's helpful. Absolutely. Just maybe on a Friday, be careful because there's a lot of groups that show up on Friday.
Yeah.
And if you're like me, you couldn't find a parking spot. I literally sat in my car for 30 minutes. Take an Uber to the Capitol if you can.
Good advice.
Yes.
Good advice. All due respect to those that protest on the South Steps. There's a place for that as well.
That's right.
But it's always more effective to reach out and contact the lawmakers who
Far more
represent
effective.
you
Yeah.
directly. All right. Well, stay right here on KSL Inside Sources. Coming up after the break, we have a new proposal to amend Utah State Constitution when it comes to dealing with the Electoral College. That's coming up next.
Good afternoon, 2:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Jeff Kaplan. KSL's top story this hour. President Trump will speak with Canada's Prime Minister ahead of the midnight deadline, which is actually 10 p.m. our time. Stiff tariffs will be clamped on Canadian goods. In New Jersey, car dealership owner Tom Paoli says these tariffs are going to make cars more expensive for him and consumers.
We have an overhead. We have to cover our expenses. We have employees, health insurance plans. We have to pass that along to the consumer. And ultimately what it means is the consumer is going to pay more for a car. Their car payments are going to go up. And I'm not so sure they can absorb that right now.
Earlier today, President Trump agreed to pause tariffs on Mexico after that country's president agreed to send 10,000 National Guard troops to the U.S. border. Wall Street's reaction to the tariffs has been chaotic today. DMBA certified financial planner Shane Stewart tells Utah's Morning News, now is not the time to be reactionary and start making big changes to your investments.
Because you really have no idea which way the market's going to go. I mean, so be careful to be not to be too reactionary.
Yeah, case in point, the market was down, Dow losing 600 points at the open this morning. But after the Mexican tariffs were paused for a month, the Dow rallied and ended the day down 122 points. Coming up, it's spring for at least a couple of days. KSL weather is on the way next. KSL News Time, 2:31.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring
Is your mom or dad struggling to get in and out of their chair? Hi, I'm Jay Broadbent with Alpine Home Medical. We've seen it happen for years. As customers come into our store and they've had a recent fall, they're finally ready to ask for some help. Don't wait until you're injured. We have everything you need to avoid the fall before it happens. Now until the end of February, we're running a deal that we think you're going to love. When you purchase a lift chair, you can unlock 10% off your entire purchase. Get side tables, canes, shower chairs, walkers, and even ramps. We're open Monday through Friday. We've got stores from Idaho Falls to St. George and now in Tooele. Come into any one of our 11 locations and let us help you. Find us online at alpinehomemedical.com.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
Paid for by government.com. Have you heard? A recent stash of 1902 Morgan silver dollar coins has been found. These gorgeous 1902 silver dollar coins are as bright and shiny as the day they were struck, and less than 300 of these Morgan silver dollars are available. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone interested in silver coins. Just call government at 1-800-806-1641, and you are guaranteed a mint condition 1902 Morgan silver dollar, featuring the iconic old mint mark of the New Orleans Mint, but with limited quantity. You must call now. These 1902 silver coins are still in uncirculated condition. That is 122 years of history you can hold in your hand. To learn more, call 1-800-806-1641. Call now and you'll receive a free American Coin Collector's Bonus Package, a $25 value free with every order. Call 1-800-806-1641 now to secure your 1902 Morgan silver dollars before they sell out. That's 1-800-806-1641.
Attention home buyers, want to save hundreds on your mortgage payment or buy a bigger, nicer home? visit SaveRight.com. This is Rod with the Save Right team at Realty Path. Save Right, our name says it all. Save Right real estate clients often save $300 to $600 a month on their mortgage. Life of loan savings can be over $300,000. Save Right clients qualify for and buy bigger, nicer homes. Interest rates are around 7%. Save Right clients can get fixed rates in the 5s. Our affiliate lender makes it all possible. You can even start with a rate in the 2s. If you're buying or selling a home in Utah, save a ton of money. Hire the Save Right team of realtors. Visit SaveRight.com for more information.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Mountain America's limited time balance transfer bonus. Here's Ricky Meese.
Good speeds on the Valley freeways, but scanners calling out a new crash in Taylorsville, 4700 South, 3200 West. Whipple Service Champions, your cooling, heating, plumbing, drains, and electrical specialist. Whipple that away. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
The KSL forecast, your overnight low tonight, 46 degrees. You can expect a record 66 for tomorrow, 50s for the rest of the week. Right now it's 64 and cloudy. I'm Jeff Kaplan from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. This is Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources.
Inside Sources.
A new presidency, new state leaders, and a new legislative session. Utah's top political experts discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
Eye on the Hill 2025. Special coverage on Inside Sources.
Welcome back to Inside Sources. I'm your co-host, Rusty Cannon, here with Taylor Morgan. Taylor, a proposal to amend Utah's constitution.
Another one?
Another one. We love these. Are being worked on during this legislative session, and it's going to affect how Utah's electoral votes work during presidential elections.
Okay, I could be on board with this.
Now, well, I'm going to get into one detail I wanted to bring up, but let's get into the bill first. We're lucky to have joining us with us on the line State Representative Jason Kyle. Thanks for joining us, Representative Kyle.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right. So the bill we're talking about, I believe, is HJR 5, if I have the number right, and you can correct us if it's wrong. Help listeners understand what this bill does.
Yeah. What this bill does is it makes it so that the legislature can't enter into an interstate compact or an agreement with other states to give away our electoral college votes to a group, to the national popular vote winner. There's a group out there that's looking to change the that doesn't like the electoral college process.
Okay.
And they're trying to get states to enter into agreements to just throw their votes behind the national popular vote winner instead of keeping their votes to how the people voted.
Interesting. Okay, I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, I was going down a different lane.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Taylor.
Well, no, I just want to remind our listeners, of course, that we're speaking with State Representative Jason Kyle. Representative Kyle, to his credit, Rusty, I have to say he takes on some tough issues.
Yes.
I think this is one of them because this piece of legislation would have to go on the ballot in 2026 for Utah voters to approve. Is that correct, Representative Kyle?
Yes, all of our constitutional amendments have to pass through with a 2/3 majority in the House and Senate and then be approved by the voters on the ballot.
You know, I wanted to make a point. That was the point I was going to mention early on in the segment, and it gets to be a point of frustration for me. All the time when these types of bills are debated, in fact, a bill similar to this that is also a constitutional amendment bill was debated in a Senate committee last week, and you had speaker after speaker against the bill saying you're taking away the will of the people or the voice of the people, conveniently forgetting that the bill does exactly opposite of what they're saying. The bill only forwards that particular issue, same as this one, to the ballot for voters to decide on. Meaning, so, Representative Kyle, as you said, if 2/3 of both bodies pass this bill, it is not done. All that means is it goes on to the ballot in 2026 where voters get to say yes or no. Correct?
Correct, and that's taken into account when we run this type of legislation. I wouldn't be running this if I didn't think the people would approve it. And I think it's really important because I think that people do want to keep their voice and their at the Electoral College.
Yeah, Representative Kyle, what can you tell us about the national popular vote, the effort, the organization, whoever they are, that this amendment would thwart? What do you know about them? What can you tell our listeners about this national popular vote movement?
Yeah, so actually, it was one of the groups that I first met with after I was elected was the National Popular Vote movement. And they came and they met with a group of legislators and they tried to convince us about how it would be a good idea. And we all kind of looked at them and said, this is a terrible idea. we don't agree with you. And I don't think Utahns will agree with you as well. Because what it does is they're saying, okay, all of these states have signed up, and most of the states that have entered into this compact are large populous states, right? And
can you give us some examples of those states, if you don't mind, Representative?
You know, I don't know right off the top of my head.
Well, it'd be places like California, New York. I mean, right? I mean, high population states. I mean, the problem with this idea, and I apologize for jumping in, Representative Kyle, but this just touches a nerve with me. This type of effort, the national popular vote, is completely an effort to obviously do away with the Electoral College, to where you say, hey, no, it's the popular will of the people. Well, all you're going to do is enshrine the majority, tyranny of the majority. And then you would have all states in the middle of the United States, Utah being one of them, they'll be relegated to being a permanent flyover state. We wouldn't even matter.
Absolutely, and that's their goal. They want to just be able to focus on. They're going to say, hey, we're going to focus on California. We're going to focus on New York. We're going to get those states. We're going to get as many people as we can. And the Electoral College, there may be a few criticisms of it, but it was a great compromise, I think, that our founders came up with to make sure that every state mattered and that every state has a voice when it comes to selecting our president. And so my bill, my resolution, it aims to preserve that and preserve Utah's voice at the national level.
Now, President Donald Trump, we know, won the national popular vote by a wide margin. He was the first Republican presidential candidate in 20 years to win both the Electoral College and the popular vote. Do you think that has had an impact on the national popular vote movement? Has it undermined that? Is this amendment still fully necessary? What do you think?
I do think it's fully necessary, and I think he won the national popular vote, honestly, because the last administration was historically terrible. I think on almost every measure, and the ratings reflect that. It was really easy to not vote for the previous administration, but I don't think that won't be the case going forward. And so I do think it's important, even if we do flip. I think it's important for Utah to preserve its vote and say we're going to vote for who the people of Utah selected. And from now and going on in the future.
So enshrining this in the Constitution, it to me sounds like a wonderful idea. I'm just really curious, and obviously I'm biased here. What points do the national popular vote crowd make to where they think this would be a good idea for Utah?
None of them really made sense to me. They were trying to tell us that it would make all states more important during the election. They'd say they were trying to convince us that, the presidential candidates will visit Utah more often because they'll be just trying to get the popular vote in Utah. But you know what? We have, I don't know what the population is off the top of my head, over 3.5 million. Well, the Los Angeles County is a lot more than that. They're not going to pay attention. They're not going to stop in Utah except for in Park City to pick up some donations. So the arguments just didn't make sense to me.
Well, I can understand your point. And in addition, other states, in addition to Utah, would be just absolutely decimated, where you have even lighter populations than Utah. I'm thinking some Midwestern states where they would be relegated.
Correct, or Wyoming, South Dakota.
Exactly.
Their voices would just disappear.
Be gone completely.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Representative Jason Kyle. Appreciate you joining Inside Sources to talk about your resolution, HJR 5, that would amend the Utah State Constitution. So grateful for your time and certainly for your service in the House.
Thank you very much.
Rusty, we have breaking news. The tariffs on Canadian goods will be paused for 30 days. We knew that President Donald Trump was on a call, had a conversation with Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Canadian tariffs on American goods will also be paused for 30 days. This comes following that conversation between Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and President Donald Trump that happened earlier this afternoon, as we mentioned previously here on KSL Inside Sources. According to Trudeau, Canada will implement a $1.3 billion plan. I'm not sure if those are U.S. or Canadian dollars, Rusty, but a $1.3 billion plan to reinforce the border with new helicopters, new technology, more personnel, and increased resources to stop the flow of fentanyl from Canada to the United States. Canada will also appoint a fentanyl czar. And
we love that word.
Yeah,
yes.
And will launch a Canada-U.S. joint strike force to combat organized crime, fentanyl, and money laundering. A lot happening here. Exciting news. This breaking story will be updated during Jeff Kaplan's afternoon news at 3 p.m. We'll be right back.
Camping season is right around the corner, and Motorsportsland is throwing a huge RV party in the KZ RV Megatent. Come and check out hundreds of the newest RVs, RV accessories, and enjoy exciting activities including kids' movie nights, RV seminars, on-site radio events, yard games, live bands, food trucks, and did we mention over $30,000 in giveaways? Event sponsors include KZ RV, Owned by Cummins, Suburban RV Appliances, Lion Energy, Lippert, Utah Big Game Outfitters, Equalizer, and many more. Free admission, free seminars, and free activities. No need to wait for a show. Buy your RV at Motorsportsland this week in confidence with our best price guarantee for 2 weeks after your purchase. Check out motorsportsland.com for event schedule and guarantee details. Adventure awaits at Motorsportsland's Megatent RV event.
Let Motorsportsland help you get away.
4001 South State.
Join KSL News Radio and the movie show this Friday from 10 to 1 at the Salt Lake NPS store, 1600 Empire Road in Salt Lake City, npsstore.com.
Right now at Wendy's, get 2 of these fave items for just $7. The spicier classic chicken sandwich, Dave's single, or 10-piece nugs. It's an incredible deal, but an insanely difficult choice. Do you go double chicky sando, both spicy and classic, 1 beefy and 1 chicky? Or maybe you go all in on one and go Nug Max. 2 faves for just $7? Gotta be Wendy's.
At participating Wendy's for a limited time only. Select a request 2 for $7 deal to redeem. Not valid in a combo or with saucy nugs. Single item at regular price. Prices may be higher in Alaska and Hawaii.
Febreze. It's a classic odor tale. You fried fish for dinner, cleaned up, but the smell is still in the house. And the neighbors are coming over for game night. They're on their way. And then you spray Febreze Air Mist. Febreze Air starts working instantly to fight even your toughest odors, so you go from fish to fresh like that. Now, all you have to worry about is Pam cheating at charades.
Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la.
Boy, right after the holidays, everyone needs a little cash, right?
Oh, yes.
We have great news for you. Right now, UCCU, Utah Community Credit Union, will pay you for your auto loan and credit balances. So all you have to do is just transfer your auto loan or your credit card balance to UCCU. And on top of giving you a low interest rate, which will save you money, UCCU will give you 1% cash back up to $250 on every loan you transfer.
Amanda, as soon as I heard about this, I said, I'm in this exact situation. I transferred. I actually had to have 2 loans to get my car a year ago.
Yeah.
Long story. Got it consolidated into one, and they paid me 1% back for each thing. I've got 1 payment now instead of 2. It's so much easier, and it took me maybe basically an hour. I just went straight to the website. I applied. They said, you got to send me these documents. I did, and all of a sudden, within a couple of days, I had it all set.
This is how easy they are to work with, always looking for ways to help you and your family. You can find out more on the UCCU mobile banking app or just go to uccu.com/transfer. Utah Community Credit Union. You're going to love where you bank.
Is using separate office technology like business telephones, chat, video conferencing, and file transferring complicated and pricey? What if all of those things were bundled into one simple product that has over 99.9% uptime, crystal clear quality, and is affordable. And what if you could get your business telephone bundle from a proven office technology partner like Les Olson IT? You can.
Les Olson IT.
Sign up for KSL Text Alerts. Get breaking news and traffic updates by texting the word news to 57500. Want access to exclusive contests? Text contest to 57500. Jazz fans, text the word jazz for breaking jazz updates. And Cougar fans, text BYU to 57500 for the latest on the Cougars. Message and data rates may apply.
Getting help with electrical repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Do you worry about how much someone drinks?
Do you feel angry or depressed most of the time? Do you feel neglected or unloved?
Do you feel that if the drinker loved you, she or he would stop drinking?
If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are not alone.
Not everyone trapped by alcohol is an alcoholic.
Families and friends are suffering too.
Al-Anon
and Alateen can help. Call 1-866-200-0223 or visit alanon.org/help.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Welcome back to Inside Sources. I'm your co-host, Rusty Cannon, here with Taylor Morgan. On this last segment, Taylor, I wanted to get your thoughts on something that has bothered me all weekend.
Okay, before we hear all about what bothered you all weekend, I want to make sure that our listeners know that we also want them to weigh in this conversation.
Thank
they
you,
can
yes.
share their thoughts and not just anything that's bothering you, listeners. Not that I don't care, but we're specifically talking about town halls.
Town halls,
if
yes.
they matter, who shows up to them, good or bad, all of the above specific to this topic. You can weigh in by texting us your thoughts at 57500.
Thank you. Thank you for catching that.
Rusty, open up. Let's hear it.
What was on my mind over the weekend after attending a town hall on Thursday, if I remember correctly, for Congressman Blake Moore? Was up in Kaysville, packed room, standing room only, everybody ready to hear some good thoughts. He's, co-chair of the DOJ committee in the House, had all kinds of substantive presentation material that he went through. But when it opened up to Q&A, we reverted back to what I would say has happened before, where you have some individuals that out of turn yell, scream, demand, and just sort of berate to make their point.
Okay, so a congressional town hall with
Yeah.
a sitting member of the U.S. House of Representatives, a pretty, I think, important opportunity for constituents to weigh in. How many people were there total?
Oh, it's got to be a couple hundred. I can't remember the size of the room, but every seat was taken. They brought in more chairs, and people were also standing.
That's great.
Yeah.
Was it advertised
It was.
in the community? Okay.
Yeah, well advertised. That's how I found out about it. I think I saw either a Google ad or something, and then it was on their website. Everybody knew about it that wanted to. Well, for the most part, that wanted to know about it.
Okay. So first, a lot of credit to Representative Blake Moore, who held this town hall, for doing it, for advertising it, for showing up and talking to his voters.
Yeah.
I think that is all wonderful.
Okay.
Let's start there. Credit given where it's due, I think there.
Absolutely. And I hope that they continue. What I just got frustrated with is that I think the majority of people there, I think it was safe to say, wanted to hear good substantive comments and have good substantive answers. And at times, it got so out of hand with people yelling questions, talking over each other, and just, almost screaming about their issue. And they're important issues, but maybe they drill down on one that maybe it's an okay issue. Yeah, let's talk about it.
Like
let's
what
move
kind
on.
of issues, for example, came up?
Hatred for Donald Trump. That comes up constantly.
Hatred for Trump.
Oh, absolutely. He's a dictator, all this stuff. Just things like that going down that rabbit hole. My point being, this is where I wanted to get your opinion. I don't think any of those people, bless their hearts, are changing anyone's mind. Certainly not the congressman's mind.
Right.
And effective advocacy is typically done in a different way, right? Meaning where you can talk one-on-one, make substantive points in a kind way, in a thoughtful way, versus just yelling so that you can get some attention. I wonder if the town hall format is still helpful.
Yeah, that is a great question. I'm torn on this one, right? Because I love this setting. and perhaps I like it in theory more than in practice, but I love this idea that a member of Congress in person shows up physically to whether it's a high school auditorium, a classroom, what have you. They show up in person to talk with their constituents. And that sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
And people show up to share their concerns, air their grievances, even though Festivus has passed. But Rusty, I feel like it has devolved into two things. One, the member of Congress, and I'm not saying Blake Moore did this because I know him. I think he has good intentions. I think he's doing this for the right reasons. But perhaps that's not the case with every member of Congress. Okay, worst case, that member of Congress just shows up to check the box.
Yeah.
They're there to say they did it. They suffer through an hour of crazy people.
Yeah,
I'm
this
sorry.
is 2 hours,
Those who show up to these things, they tend to not have anything else better to do on a Thursday night, right?
Actually, it was 4 p.m.
So they don't
This
have
is 4 to
jobs.
6,
So either
yeah.
they're unemployed, they're bored, what have you. They show up and they just want to yell.
Yeah.
And they want to yell at a prominent target. A member of Congress is there for the having, and they let loose. Both sides leave having checked the box. It might be a little bit cathartic for those folks who attended, the ones at least who had a chance to yell and air their complaints, right?
Yeah.
And that's all it's good for. That's what I think. I think it's come down to that, unfortunately. And it's not Blake Moore's fault. It's not his colleagues' fault. It is the fault of those who can attend. Maybe that's because it's just simply not how we engage in politics anymore, Rusty.
That was my question, is in today's world, if it's still applicable to how, yes, town halls, they're important. They should be getting out there and be seen and heard and have a dialogue. That's not what I'm saying. I'm wondering if in today's world, when so much of what we consume is already consumed via tweet or social media or Instagram or a TikTok or the news that we find constantly 24/7. We already know all that's going on versus in the quote-unquote old days, this would have been one of the very best ways to, hey, I want to talk to him or her, and I'm going to go and raise this issue instead of literally writing a letter, if you remember those, and sending it through the mail to them, making your voice heard, being very important. In today's world, much of the debate that was going on and the back and forth has already completely taken place.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's old news.
And if you want to be effective, listeners, if you want to have an impact on policy, we've talked about this on today's show earlier, right? We talked about specific ways you can have a real impact on policy. I'm going to say town halls are not that way. I want to share a text. We have a text coming in from a listener. Quote, as a previous congressional staffer, I have never seen anything good come out of a town hall meeting. They were always hijacked by a group and people that took over everything that we were trying to focus on, end quote. That is a text from a text.
That's exactly what I saw happen.
Exactly what happened.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the point, is where they can be so easily hijacked. If you can yell and scream and you can get 4 or 5 people to clap for you in a room of 300 people, it sounds like you have momentum and you just kind of take things off a track. That's an interesting comment as a former staffer.
Okay, Rusty, I have to ask you,
okay,
as someone who is in the business of influencing public policy, we don't have a ton of time here, but tell our listeners how they can have an impact on changing policy or influencing their representative.
So the most effective way is one-on-one, face-to-face. And I know that's difficult, and I'm now talking virtually about a town hall, but I'm saying one-on-one.
Maybe don't yell when you're there.
Don't yell, but person-to-person with substantive, thoughtful comments and follow-up to the staffers, right? As a congressman or congresswoman, they hear 20 different subjects in 1 hour. Typically, right, in various places, especially when they're in D.C. Now, not everybody can fly to D.C., and I understand that, but they're also here typically Mondays and Fridays in their district office or district area. But that one-on-one communication. But the follow-up with staff is really important because that's who really collects the substantive data that you want to show and the talking points and enacts that change to the congressman or congresswoman. That's what I think is the most effective, is that one-on-one. Emails are important. Phone calls are important. They do track those. They absolutely track those, where they're coming from, what they say. They catalog those. They know if there's a big groundswell on an issue, they know. And so it does make a difference. But it has to be substantive, thoughtful, concise. And one of the people yelling at this meeting, it was pointed out by the congressman, is at virtually every one of his meetings and yells about the same thing over and over. Does no good.
So if we agree that town halls are not necessarily effective when it comes to making public policy decisions, Rusty, what are the risks? Give me 30 seconds, Rusty. Are there risks associated with not doing them?
I believe so, because then you can be categorized as not listening to your constituents and not being accessible.
Right.
So to your point, I just felt like it's worth a discussion of how everyone behaves at these things. Are they still worthwhile? Like this one staffer said, they never saw this have a positive outcome. But I think you could be pegged with the moniker of, hey, you never hold town halls, you don't listen if you don't do them.
So do them, suffer through them, check the box.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening today to Inside Sources. Tomorrow, Leah Murray and Aaron Ryder will host the show beginning at 1 p.m. here on KSL News Radio. Next up, it is Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News.
After News works.
Jeff, I mess it up when you're sitting next to me. So excited for the next show.
Afternoon.
Stay right here.
It's great to listen to you guys.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
With a lead in like that. Good afternoon. It's 3 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Jeff Kaplan, 65 degrees. It is windy, KSL's top story. They're calling it a day without immigrants. Some Utah businesses have shut down for the day to protest the Trump administration crackdown. KSL News Radio's Eric Cabrera is live with the latest. Eric?
Jeff, I've heard from listeners confirming that businesses across the state, like the popular Rancho Markets, are joining the nationwide protest. Cynthia Lemus, owner of Un Cafecito in Salt Lake City, told me when she saw a customer leave mid-order when a police officer came in for coffee over the weekend, that's when she knew they'd close up shop for the day.
As she was putting in her order, and she just had this immediate look of fear and just said, oh no. I think in that moment, it was when I decided we had to do something.
Other businesses showing their support include Sugarlandia, El Paisa Grill, Señor Pollo Mexican Grill, and Carniceria El Centro. Live, Eric Cabrera, KSL News Radio.
Thanks, Eric. Schools are also seeing a lot of empty seats today. Our team coverage continues. KSL News Radio's Heather Peterson joins us. Heather?
While numbers haven't been collected on today's attendance rates, Granite School District spokesperson Andrea Stringham says
today we've seen increased absences. We can't verify or we can't pinpoint the exact reason why they're absent.
She says families can indicate if the absence is illness-related or for personal reasons, but the districts don't get specifics. However, she could say that there have been more absences since the inauguration. That sentiment was echoed by Alpine School District spokesperson Rich Stowell.
The directives that came out from the Department of Homeland Security last month probably are a factor in some of those absences. At the same time, January is a month when illnesses can be unpredictable.
The other school districts we've reached out to have not replied yet with whether or not they've seen more absences as well. Reporting live, Heather Peterson, KSL News Radio.
KSL News Time 3:02. We have breaking news at KSL. As you first heard a short time ago, the 25% tariff against Canada has apparently been put on hold. Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau just completed a phone call with President Trump. He says President Trump agreed to pause the tariffs for 30 days. In return, Canada's going to spend more than $1 billion reinforcing the border with new helicopters and tech. Canada's going to appoint a fentanyl czar and will also form a joint U.S.-Canada strike force to combat organized crime, opioids, and money laundering. Again, the Canadian tariffs are on hold for the next 30 days, according to Canada's Prime Minister. Democrats are pushing back against the closure of a humanitarian aid agency. Maria Chaleos is live at the KSL National News Desk.
Jeff, Secretary of State Marco Rubio says he's taking charge of USAID, calling it a rogue agency.
Their attitude is we don't have to answer to you because we are independent. We answer to no one. Well, that's not true, and that will no longer be the case.
Virginia Congressman Don Beyer and other Democratic lawmakers coming to the defense of the agency.
USAID was established by an act of Congress, and it can only be disbanded by an act of Congress.
Members of Congress were turned away at the door when they tried to enter the offices. Meantime, President Trump is defending Elon Musk and his Department of Government Efficiency.
We're trying to shrink government, and he can probably shrink it as well as anybody else, if not better. Where we think there's a conflict or there's a problem, we won't let him go near it.
Has placed employees of the U.S. Agency for International Development on paid leave and is raising questions over access to a Treasury Department payment system. Two of the people injured in a Philadelphia plane crash on Friday remain in critical condition. Mayor Sherelle Parker today updating the number of those injured on the ground.
The number of people who have been treated so far with injuries that they suffered as a result of the crash has been increased from 22 to 24. 4 of those people remain hospitalized.
6 people on the small jet and 1 person on the ground were killed. And most of the plane wreckage from last week's deadly mid-air collision over D.C. has been pulled from the Potomac River.
During recovery and salvage operations today, additional human remains were located.
Assistant Fire Chief Gary Steen says 55 victims have been positively identified. Live from the KSL National News Desk, I'm Maria Chaleos, KSL News Radio.
Open the windows. This afternoon, we're enjoying record-breaking heat outside. KSL meteorologist Kevin Eubank told Utah's Noon News this warmth is coming from a storm that moved in over the weekend.
That front went to about Provo, and then it came backwards and went back into Idaho, and that's now triggered these south winds that we're experiencing right now, and that's what's bumped temperatures up. So we had record high yesterday where we were in the 60s, and we're going to do it today and tomorrow as well.
So a storm actually made a round trip. Make the most of it, though. The record-setting warmth is only going to last the next couple of days. UDOT is asking the legislature for money to keep roads clean. KSL News Radio's Alexandria Bonilla here.
That money would be used to remove trash, blown out tires, debris, and dead animals from highways. State Senator Wayne Harper says more than just looking dirty, they pose some serious dangers. Debris left in the roads from unsecured loads can cause drivers to swerve or even veer off the road. The cleanup budget was cut by just under $2 million when the pandemic hit. And now that the economy is starting to cool from the pandemic, they're asking for it back.
Senator Wayne Harper says you can also help keep the roads clean. It's pretty simple. Don't throw your garbage out the car window. KSL News Time 3:06. Ricky, you ever see that? Somebody tossing like fast food stuff out there? It's just nauseating.
Yes, it is. You'd think they would know better by now not to do that.
Especially if they run into a traffic jam and suddenly everybody who watched them do it is all around them. We have any of those this afternoon?
Not that I can see. In fact, a nice and quiet start to your drive. And that's on all the Valley freeways. The final cleanup of a crash, 4700 South, 3200 West. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
And my minute of news is on the way. Next.
Seems everything costs more these days. Gas, groceries, and when's the last time you checked your wireless bill? Yikes. When it comes to big wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Here's how to get the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill. Switch to Consumer Cellular. Plans start at just $20 a month, and that's not a short-term promo. Our U.S.-based experts will get you switched and saving in about 20 minutes. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com and start saving today. Plans include $5 credit for auto-pay and e-billing.
Febreze.
It's a classic odor tale. You fried fish for dinner, cleaned up, but the smell is still in the house. And the neighbors are coming over for game night. They're on their way. And then you spray Febreze Air Mist. Febreze Air starts working instantly to fight even your toughest odors, so you go from fish to fresh like that. Now all you have to worry about is Pam cheating at charades.
Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la.
You bought a house, or maybe you're building one, but it just isn't feeling like home. Not yet. AMC Building Materials has this undeniable knack for transforming a house into a home. Your home. How do they do that? They combine years of exceptional kitchen and bath creations with your ideas. In fact, customer satisfaction is their #1 priority. You know what you want. You know it's not going to be cookie cutter, and this is exactly where AMC shines. AMC delivers exceptional quality, bold-style kitchen and bath designs, along with their exceptional value and a timeline you'll love. Most projects are complete by the elite AMC professional installers in under 10 days. Immerse yourself in the beauty, function, and feel in person at the AMC Building Materials showroom in Salt Lake City. Get directions and schedule your free estimate at amckitchenslc.org. AMC Building Materials, transforming your house into a home. amckitchenslc.org.
Getting help with plumbing repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
This is My Minute of News, brought to you by Any Hour Services, electrical, plumbing, heating, and air, anyhourservices.com. 10 years ago, the CEO went before a board meeting. You know, the polished wood table, swivel chairs, business types making sour faces. And the CEO, a guy named Alvaro Luque, threw out this wild idea. let's do a Super Bowl ad. His nonprofit corporation is called Avocados from Mexico, and Luque convinced the board to be the first fresh produce product ever advertised at the Super Bowl. Their 2015 commercial was like the NFL draft, but it was conducted by Noah from the Bible, and countries around the world are drafting natural resources.
Brazil selects the slaw off-the-field issue.
Not a locker room guy.
The United States selects wheat.
Wheat.
And Mexico selects... beach. The avocado.
Great pick. Love it.
Cute concept. But did it work? You bet your guacamole it did. Avocado imports rose by 600% since that commercial aired, spurred on by a decade of commercials during the game. Their enduring message, Alvaro Luque says,
avocados makes every moment good, no matter how bad it is.
And this year, it's bad. They're spending $8 million to air an ad for the avocados that might still be slapped with a 25% tariff. If it happens, prices are going to spike quickly, and they're leaning on Gronk. Yeah, Rob Gronkowski, the star of their commercials, to rescue the industry. So let's see.
Woo! Not guacamole, Gronkamole.
Gronkamole? Yeah, the commercial is weak sauce. The tariff threat is looming at the same time. Avocado production is down 27%. So good luck to Gronk, but it's going to take a thick skin going forward because right now the avocado business
Avocados from Mexico
is the pits.
Jeff Kaplan's Minute of News, only on KSL News Radio.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Mountain America's limited time balance transfer bonus. Here's Ricky Meese.
We do have traffic starting to build just a little bit southbound I-15, Murray and Midvale. However, normal KSL travel time southbound I-15 from downtown to Draper and from the Point to Provo. The rest of your Salt Lake County freeways are looking pretty good. We have had a little bit of busy traffic southbound on State in the Murray area by the mall and going northbound towards 5300 South. Eric?
Got some congestion over on 500 West and Bountiful just south of the 500 South intersection, but the freeways in Weaver and Davis counties look good. If you're over on Mountain View Corridor, no problems right now, no major problems heading through West Valley City. A little bit of southbound slowing approaching the 201 if you're on Bangerter. Utah Symphony performs the score live as the movie plays on the big screen. Don't miss Disney's Beauty and the Beast in concert February 7th and 8th. Eric Butler in the KSL Traffic Center.
I've got incredibly warm weather on tap today, folks. Look for a high of 65 when the normal's 41. Mostly cloudy skies, breezy out of the south. Overnight, the coolest we get, 51. 66 tomorrow, mostly cloudy. We'll go to 56 with a chance for showers on Wednesday. From the KSL Weather Center, I'm Matt Johnson.
We're at 64 degrees. I mean, it's 64 degrees in Salt Lake City. And on the way, we're going to tell you about a price cut that's going to make you happy. It's going to impact your budget for your family. Yeah, a real price cut. Stay with us. We're streaming live at KSLNewsRadio.com. We're on the KSL News Radio app. This is Utah's news, traffic, and weather station. It's the Advanced Window Products President's Day sale. If the cold is seeping in through your old windows, Advanced Window Products will install state-of-the-art double-pane windows with insulated frames. Your home will take on an exciting new look, and you're going to save on your heating bill. And not for nothing, your air conditioning in summer. And right now, with the President's Day sale, you save $2,500 off 10 windows or more. For 38 years, Advanced Windows has been building beautiful custom windows and frames right here in Utah. There's no middleman, so you save. So keep out the cold, cut down your energy bills, and save $2,500 with one call to Advanced Window Products. 801-850-9100. An expert comes out for a no-pressure consultation. They'll tell you about the payment plans, including no payments for 24 months. The Advanced Window Products President's Day sale. Get $2,500 off. Call 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100. Or just go to advancedwindows.com.
Are you tired of the pain and discomfort caused by those bulky, ill-fitting dentures? Sick of feeling self-conscious when you eat with family and friends? It's time to take charge. Stubbs Dental Implant Center, Utah's best of state winner, is here to give you your freedom back. Say goodbye to dentures and say hello to the All-on-X dental implant procedure. The permanent, life-changing fix that lets you chow down on your favorite foods without a care in the world and flash that confident smile once again. With cutting-edge technology, you can have a brand new permanent smile in as little as 24 hours. Yes, you heard right. Fast forward to finals and let your new smile steal the show. And here's the best part. Your consultation is absolutely free. At Stubbs Dental Implant Center, Utah's #1 dental implant center, they've helped thousands of patients love their smiles again. You could be next. It only takes 60 seconds to start your journey to a happier, healthier smile at StubbsDental.com. That's StubbsDental.com.
You know that feeling? Your furnace is working way too hard to keep up with the cold, except now it's not actually as cold as it used to be, but the furnace still seems to be working too hard. And what if this means your furnace doesn't have what it takes to survive the winter after all? Whipple that away. Replacing your furnace now so you can stop worrying now is my job. Make your problem my problem. Whipple Service Champions.
Visit whipplethataway.com for our current special offers.
This Friday, join KSL News Radio and NPS from 10 to 1 as the movie show stops by. Then, browse and uncover what makes NPS so great. With 4 locations, NPS takes a new inventory every day. Then, they check all competitors' retail pricing before marking items down 20 to 70% off. You're invited to visit the movie show this Friday from 10 to 1. And that's the first step to discovering NPS. Visit npsstore.com to begin your own NPS adventure. npsstore.com.
KSL News Time, 3:15. The 3 things you need to know this hour first.
Several Utah businesses have closed today in support of the nationwide Day Without Immigrants protest, standing in solidarity with immigrant communities amid ongoing federal crackdowns. KSL News Radio's Eric Cabrera.
Second, the tariff against Canada has been put on hold. Canadian Prime Minister Trudeau just completed a phone call with President Trump, who agreed to pause the tariff for 30 days. Third, our biggest traffic trouble spot.
No accidents, no delays. Valley Freeway traffic just rolling along and looking good. But we do have our typical slowdowns if you're traveling southbound Highway 89 from the Walmart headed towards the I-84 junction. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
We're looking at record warmth today and tomorrow, then some cooler weather. I'm Matt Johnson.
A windy 64 degrees at the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios now. Our top national stories.
From ABC News, I'm Lindsay Davis, anchor of Prime, streaming weeknights on ABC News Live. President Trump says he will pause tariffs on Mexico for a month. The president says Mexico will reinforce the U.S.-Mexico border with 10,000 National Guard troops immediately. ABC's Matt Rivers is in Mexico City.
And this was the off-ramp that so many people has phone call between President Trump and President Sheinbaum scheduled before she was scheduled to give her press conference. And I think both sides are going to take this as a win. President Sheinbaum saying that they had a constructive phone call. President Trump saying the same thing, and they were able to reach an agreement to pause these tariffs for 1 month.
Canadian Prime Minister Trudeau also just announced tariffs will be postponed by at least 30 days. Workers at the U.S. Agency for International Development, which funds humanitarian work, were told to stay home. Elon Musk, who heads the Department of Government Efficiency, says he's shutting the agency down, vowing to cut trillions of dollars in government spending. ABC's Stephen Portnoy has more.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio says he's now in charge of USAID, aiming to bring a rogue agency to heel.
Their attitude is we don't have to answer to you because we are independent. We answer to no one. Well, that's not true, and that will no longer be the case.
Democratic lawmakers say the agency can only be disbanded by an act of Congress. Rescue crews are working to pull the wreckage out of the Potomac River in Washington, D.C., following last week's midair collision of an American Airlines flight and an Army Black Hawk helicopter. ABC's Sam Sweeney has more.
Crews are removing parts of that aircraft from the Potomac. This is a crucial step in this process as there are still bodies inside of the fuselage.
67 people were killed in the collision. Crews have recovered the remains of 55 people. Investigators have recovered the voice recorder from the cockpit of the medical transport jet that crashed shortly after takeoff near Philadelphia shopping center Friday. 7 people were killed. You're listening to ABC News.
And now the KSL in-depth natural gas just got cheaper. Yeah, if you're an Enbridge customer, joining me live, Jorgen Hoffling, a spokesperson for Enbridge Gas. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so now, first of all, for everybody who's unfamiliar and has maybe seen the name on a bill, you took over for Questar here in Utah, right?
Yeah, some people might have noticed this Questar. We were most recently Dominion Energy. And as of June 4th of last year, we are now Enbridge Gas Utah, Wyoming, and Idaho.
Okay, so I pay you money every month, but apparently I'm going to be paying you less. What's happening to natural gas prices?
Yeah, so we just recently announced a natural gas decrease for rates. It went into effect on February 1, which was, I believe, Saturday. And so you're going to see a little bit of a net decrease for a typical residential customer in Utah and Idaho of about $9 annually, or about 1.39%. So that's great news.
Yeah, it is great news is that for the average homeowner, $9 saved a month?
Yeah, for an average residential customer, and we've been seeing these decreases ever since about March of 2023. Since then to now, we've seen about a 33% decrease in the cost of gas rates, which is the gas that the utility provides to customers for their use, which is about $324 annually, which can add up. It makes a big difference for the average Utah family.
Hey, I don't want to look a gift horse in the mouth, but why are they going down so much?
We did see rates were pretty high about 2 years ago, just due to a number of different factors. And so we provide natural gas to customers, and what you use, what the cost of natural gas is what the customer will pay. And so we adjust those rates accordingly based on our predictions and what we think it will cost, but we do have to adjust up or down. And luckily it's been, they've been lower. The cost of gas has been lower. And so that's really great for customers. And we try to pass on those savings as soon as we're able to.
Thanks so much for joining us and for explaining the good news. Jorgen Hoffling from Enbridge Gas. And I should mention, Enbridge is based in Calgary, Canada. And if those tariffs come 30 days from now, it might cause an increase in natural gas prices from Canada. So the love we're getting could be short-lived, but no complaints. Less pay is better than more payments, and rates are still falling, so it's all good. KSL News Time 3:20. Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's limited time balance transfer bonus. Here's Ricky Meese.
Speeds are starting to slow down on southbound I-15 as you go from the south interchange to Midvale at 7200 South, right at that merge, which is always a chokehold. We also have a little bit of busy traffic southbound I-15 near 1300 South. But from the Southtown Mall in Sandy all the way to Provo, we are looking good both directions of I-15. Your Salt Lake County freeways, the 201, I-80, and I-215's belt route, all clear, no accidents and no delays. Eric?
Bunching up southbounds on Bangerter Highway approaching the 201 highway. And if you're coming off the hill, the University of Utah, we do have some slowing between Sunnyside and 1300 South if you're on Foothill Drive this morning. Going out to Tooele County, I-80, no problems right now. When you choose Performance Automotive and Bountiful, you're choosing selection. 4 locations: Performance Ford Lincoln, Performance Honda, Performance Toyota, and Truck Country. See it all at performancebountiful.com. Eric Butler in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL 7-day forecast starts out with record warmth. Today, 65, mostly cloudy, breezy out of the south. Tomorrow, 66, record warmth again. Mostly cloudy skies, breezy. Breezy but cooler weather on Wednesday, 56, chance for showers. Dry, mostly cloudy, and windy out of the south on Thursday. I got rain showers back in the forecast, maybe a snowflake on Friday, 51. 41, partly cloudy on Saturday. Sunday's dry, 38. From the KSL Weather Center, I'm Matt Johnson.
Your 7-day forecast brought to you by Performance Automotive Bountiful. 65 degrees out the window behind me. The kids are all leaving school now. Light jackets, some of them no jackets at all. It is the 3rd of February in Salt Lake City, right?
Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News, only on KSL News Radio.
You've been thinking about it a while now. You see the peeling paint outside or the scrawls on the walls inside. If it's time to get the house painted, I want to recommend 5 Star Painting. Up and down the Wasatch Front, the back, west to Tooele, they've painted thousands of homes, and one of them was mine last fall. They even restored the look of my faded front door. Perfect artistry. After 20 years, 5 Star Painting knows how to keep their customers happy. They even come back a couple of weeks later for touch-ups and they do magnificent work. So listen to this special as we head into painting season right now. Get 15% off your quote, and top-quality Sherwin-Williams paint is thrown in free. Book now before it gets busy this spring. Tell them Jeff sent you, and take advantage. 5-star painting. For a quote and color consultation, call 801-505-8052. Interior, exterior, commercial, 5-star painting. The number 801-505-8052. Call them.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Bill stacking up at your HVAC system's gone. Gillette Services has the perfect solution. Install a new high-efficiency system and get a $1,000 rebate the very same day. That's right, $1,000 in your pocket just for upgrading. And the best bet, you don't have to make a single payment until 2027. Don't miss this limited time offer. Call 385-GET-HEAT for your free estimate. Gillette Services. Comfort now, pay later.
Carrier, turn to the experts. A Carrier factory authorized dealer.
We're watching Utah's money. Postal Service workers have rejected a new contract. The deal would have given them a 4% pay hike, but 70% of union members said not good enough. President Trump is taking steps toward a government purchase of TikTok. He signed an executive order that calls for the Treasury to create a sovereign investment fund. The president would then use the money to buy or maybe go halfsies on TikTok. Gerber is recalling and discontinuing a teething snack because of a potential choking hazard. The Soothe and Chew sticks are sold online and in stores across the country. The company says there have been multiple complaints about choking. Wall Street, topsy-turvy day, but it ends with the Dow down only 122 points, closing at 44,421. The S&P down 45, the NASDAQ losing 235 points.
Attention home buyers. Want to save hundreds on your mortgage payment or buy a